40 years ago, Shinshubai reluctantly married me after I donated part of my liver to save his mother, but throughout our marriage, he remained emotionally distant despite our outward harmony. During our Ruby anniversary livestream, the drone formation suddenly reconfigured. The original Happy Ruby Anniversary message transformed into Forever Mourning My Beloved Chingwanqiu. My blood ran cold as I watched drones swirl overhead, forming Su Wanqiu's youthful college likeness. I became the world's greatest laughingstock, yet when the scaffolding collapsed, he threw himself over me without hesitation. With his dying breath, he painfully removed his wedding ring. Su Jingyi, a life for a life, we're even now. At the funeral, the twins I'd risked my life to bear regarded me with bone-deep hatred. Are you happy now? Dad's been on antidepressants since we could remember. His diary was filled with Aunt Wanqiu's name. If you hadn't exploited his gratitude back then, Dad would never have lost the love of his life and been separated from Aunt Wanqiu forever. Everyone believes I indirectly caused Chingwanqiu's untimely death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in 1984. This time, I chose to walk away the moment Shinshubai knelt down. 1. Jingyi, you're the only one who can save my mother. The antiseptic smell pierced my nostrils like countless tiny needles. I took half a step back, my lower back pressing against the metal railing in the hospital corridor as I stared at the man before me. I can't believe I've truly traveled back to this pivotal day over 40 years ago, when everyone's lives quietly changed course. In my past life, when Shinshubai's mother needed a liver transplant for cirrhosis, we all went for compatibility tests. Only Shin's girlfriend Chingwanqiu and I were matches. Ching made excuses about having fatty liver disease and refused. So when the normally proud Shinshubai knelt before me begging, I agreed to donate part of my liver to save his mother. But later, this caused a rift between him and Chingwanqiu. In his drunken misery, he mistook me for her and got me pregnant. On our wedding day, Chingwanqiu took her own life with poison. Shinshubai lived in perpetual melancholy, resenting me till his dying day. I still remember the longing in Shinshubai's eyes as he watched Chingwanqiu's memorial tribute looping on the LED screen during his final moments. My nails dug deep into my palms. Now I can finally rewrite my life story. Jingyi, my mother watched you grow up. How could you bear to let her die? Shinshubai stepped forward, eyes red-rimmed as he seized my hand. Unlike my previous life, I remained unmoved and gently freed my hand from his grasp. I've researched this. Mild fatty liver doesn't affect transplantation, as long as Chingwanqiu is willing. Wanqiu can't. Shinshubai instinctively cut me off. She's been frail since childhood. She wouldn't survive this. My chest tightened with bitterness. His heart ached for Chingwanqiu, yet when I suffered daily from liver donation complications in our past life, he remained indifferent. Seeing me lower my eyes in silence, Shinshubai gritted his teeth and dropped to his knees. Jingyi, I'm begging you. His sobs cut through the empty hallway. I know you've always had feelings for me. If you can save my mother, I'll do anything you ask. If I can't save her, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. No, if I save your mother, that's what you'll regret forever. I shook my head. My 4 decades of hollow marriage and wasted life all stemmed from that moment of weakness when I donated part of my liver to save his mother. The light in Shinshubai's eyes extinguished as he collapsed to the floor, staring at me in utter disbelief. Without waiting for another word, I turned and walked out of the hospital. As Shinshubai's sobs faded down the corridor, I finally exhaled in relief. After 40 years of domestic drudgery in my past life, exhausting myself raising children day and night, I'll never step into that prison called marriage again. In our previous life, Shinshubai lived in resentment, hating me until his dying breath. This lifetime, I'm bowing out gracefully from this three-way entanglement. May they walk hand in hand through life's changing seasons, wherever the road may lead. After returning from the hospital, I was utterly exhausted and slipped into a nightmare haze. 2. After struggling through the fog for what felt like ages, I finally managed to pry my eyes open. A hoarse male voice laced with weariness came from beside the bed. Awake. 23-year-old Shinshubai sat with stubble shadowing his jaw, his bloodshot eyes visible behind smudged glasses. If not for his youthful appearance, the tenderness in his gaze almost made me believe I was still his wife. As if everything else had just been a dream, the thermal pot on the bedside metal cabinet still steamed with freshly kept warmth. Shinshubai scooped a spoonful of soup, gently blew away the surface oil, and waited for the steam to fade before bringing it to my lips. Careful, it's hot. His voice was laced with tenderness, amber eyes gazing intently at me. I weakly turned my head away, a pang of bitterness rising in my chest. In this lifetime, I want no further entanglement with him whatsoever. Shinshubai and I grew up together, and I've adored him since childhood. This was probably the first time I'd ever avoided his touch. No wonder he looked startled. What's wrong? Fever got you delirious, he chuckled, reaching up to affectionately ruffle my hair. I remembered those same hands in our past life, how they'd shielded me from collapsing scaffolding, and how they'd resolutely removed our wedding ring, vowing to trade his life for mine. I shook my head without a word. He hesitated before speaking. Jingy, about yesterday, I was too hasty, I shouldn't have guilt-tripped you. A self-deprecating smile tugged at the corners of my lips. I'm sorry. Shinshubai treated me impeccably in every way, except loving me back. During the sweltering midsummer days, he'd personally chisel frozen red bean paste for me with an iron spoon. Milk was a rare luxury in my childhood, yet he'd always slip a bottle, warmed in his palms, into my desk before morning reading ended. On our way home from school, he always walked on the roadside, shielding me from traffic. When heavy rain came, he'd instantly drape his school jacket over our heads. His shirt collar got soaked. Yet he kept tilting the makeshift umbrella to ensure not a single drop touched me. He was the boy next door who'd fight me for comic books, yet always healed my fragility with tenderness and patience. I've always considered him my closest friend and sturdiest emotional anchor, yet in the end, it was he who hurt me the most. I lowered my gaze to hide the welling bitterness, keeping my voice steady as ever. It's fine. How's your mother doing? Shinshubai's eyes suddenly lit up, his voice brimming with excitement. Mom's getting surgery soon. My distant cousin was a perfect match. He's in great health and agreed to donate part of his liver for her. How wonderful. Watching the corners of his eyes crinkle into gentle crescents, I couldn't help but smile in response. Truly wonderful. This way, there won't be any more misunderstandings between him and Qingwanqiu. They'll make a wonderful couple and walk smoothly down the aisle. Get some rest first. The Shawshank Redemption is showing tonight. I'll take you to see it. My heart swelled with emotion. This radiant version of Shinshubai was someone I hadn't seen in 40 years, not since Qingwanqiu's suicide. That's wonderful. Let me steal just one more day before saying my final goodbye tomorrow. After tomorrow, I'll stay far away from him. After Shinshubai left, I groggily reached for the porcelain cup on the bedside. 3. In a clumsy moment, all the water inside spilled onto the bag beside me. Only then did I realize Shinshubai had left his bag behind. Seeing the cloth bag getting soaked, I hurriedly took out its contents. My fingers brushed against an unfamiliar hardness, the slightly curled corner of a crimson notebook, its title page bearing the deeply inked characters for Wanqiu. I knew I shouldn't pry into others' love affairs, yet some inexplicable urge made me turn to the first page. Today you wore a cherry blossom pink dress. When you smiled beneath the wisteria, I forgot to breathe. Between the yellowed pages lay dried petals from the wisteria outside the auditorium on graduation day. Flipping further, a train timetable was pasted on the next page. When spring break comes, I'll take you to Beidei on an old green train. You said you wanted to see the real ocean. We'll leave our shoes on the sand and let the sky, sea, and waves witness our love. On the last page was a carefully saved ration coupon, with the same phrase written repeatedly in fountain pen beside it. When I've saved up 30 pounds of grain coupons, I'll get the recommendation letter from the factory. Wanqiu, I want to call you my wife openly and proudly. Watching the willow catkins drift outside the window, I suddenly felt the notebook in my hands burning too hot to hold. This must be that diary filled with Aunt Wanqiu's name that my daughter mentioned in our past life. On so many anniversaries, I'd playfully tell him I didn't want gifts, just a love letter from him. Yet he always claimed to be inarticulate, unable to express himself, but with Qingwanqiu, his honeyed words flowed effortlessly. So it wasn't that he couldn't write, he simply didn't love me. The next day, I waited the entire day without Shinshubai showing up. The movie had long ended, and worried about him, I retraced my steps along the road to the cinema. On the way, I ran into some childhood friends who told me, Shubai, he took Wanqiu to the movies. Those two were practically glued together at the cinema earlier. They're probably sneaking off to some secluded spot by now. The guys snickered knowingly. Spring blossoms were everywhere, yet I felt as if someone had drenched me in the icy waters of midwinter, freezing me to the bone until even the pain turned numb. From beginning to end, Qingwanqiu remained Shinshubai's one and only priority. Even after their breakup in their past life, Shinshubai still put her affairs above all else. He stood me up multiple times just to deal with Qingwanqiu's trivial matters. Whenever I voiced my grievances, he'd always insist that we owed her. Even when I had a threatened miscarriage early in pregnancy, he abandoned my weakened self at the hospital to help Qingwanqiu's family move cabbages. When Qingwanqiu overdosed on our wedding day, he blamed me for insisting on holding the ceremony that supposedly triggered her. Memories of past lives came flooding back, and long-suppressed tears began streaming down my face. The next morning, I went to the factory and quit my secure job at the textile mill. Passing by the cafeteria, I happened to see Shen Shubai silently transferring braised pork from his enamel mug to Qingwanqiu's plate. In our previous life, when food rations were scarce at home, Shen Shubai always got priority. Only then did I understand those who are favored will always take things for granted. In the corner of the yard, my fingers trembled slightly as they clutched the tin cookie box. Crouching before the coal stove, I watched the flames reduce the picture book Shen Shubai had drawn for me as a child to ashes. Inside the cookie box lay a silver butterfly hairpin, a rare treasure Shen Shubai had brought back from his first business trip to Shanghai. When he pinned it in my hair himself, my heart overflowed with sweetness. The box held countless little keepsakes of Shen Shubai, each one a fragment of youthful memories. Carrying the tin box, I walked to the scrap collection stall at the alley's end and tossed it into a bamboo crate overflowing with rusty metal. As I turned, I saw Shen Shubai cycling past with Qingwanqiu on the back seat, her floral umbrella bobbing as her laughter tinkled through the air. My heart clenched in a violent spasm of pain. Severing emotional ties is easy, but reclaiming your own heart is the hardest part. Alone, I went to the station and bought a southbound train ticket for tomorrow. After tonight, Shen Shubai and I will be worlds apart, with no ties left between us. But I never expected that night, Shen Shubai would drunkenly knock on my door just like in our past life. Sujingi. The stench of alcohol enveloped me as Shen Shubai's knuckles dug viciously into my wrist. I could practically hear the creaking protest of my own bones. What kind of witchcraft did you use on my mother? You wouldn't even donate part of your liver to her, yet she still only recognizes you. He pinned me brutally against the wall, his wine-stained shirt brushing against my cheek. His eyes burned with anger. I took Wanqiu to visit the hospital, but my mom kept giving her the cold shoulder. Every other word out of her mouth was about you. Wanqiu was so upset she cried the whole time, and now she wants to break up with me. She's dumping me. You finally got what you wanted. Happy now? I was baffled. I'd already stepped back from this messy love triangle to let them be together. So why was Qingwanqiu still making breakup threats? Shen Shubai's drunken eyes roamed over my body with a hazy gaze. My clothes were disheveled from the struggle, exposing large swathes of my collarbone. His scorching breath fanned against my ear as his teeth grazed my earlobe. Shen Shubai, you're drunk. I struggled violently to escape his rough, wandering hands. Memories of that fateful night in my past life, when I conceived our child, resurfaced. Back then, we were dating. Though intimidated by his unfamiliar desires, I still secretly longed to be with him. This time, all I felt was humiliation. You said you liked me. Why are you pushing me away? My torn nightgown exposed my chest as I clawed bloody streaks into her hand, only to be met with even fiercer restraint. He spat and growled through gritted teeth. Isn't this what you wanted? Stop playing the saint. Tears streamed down my face as I sank my teeth into his shoulder, using his moment of pain to shove him away with all my strength. Shen Shubai, don't take your drunken tantrums out on me. I'm going to find Qingwanqiu. Stumbling out of the house, I ran all the way to Qingwanqiu's place. Shen Shubai's drunk. Come with me, quick. She looked puzzled, but I didn't have time to explain. I just grabbed her hand and bolted outside. The night street was eerily quiet, with only the sound of Qingwanqiu's and my frantic footsteps echoing. Suddenly, shadowy figures emerged from the alleyway with malicious intent. It instantly dawned on me. We'd run into street thugs. I knew perfectly well neither Qingwanqiu nor I stood a chance unless someone stalled these hoodlums. In my past life, Qingwanqiu took her own life on my wedding day, and Shen Shubai died saving me. Though none of it was by my choice, the debt to them remains mine to bear. I thought stepping aside in love would bring happiness to all three of us. Yet now, the wheels of fate are turning full circle. Those 40 years with Shen Shubai in my past life were bought with emotional blackmail. Now it's time to return what was never truly mine. This time, I'll set everything right and sever all ties with him for good. I shoved Qingwanqiu away abruptly. Run. Don't look back. A piercing scream tore through the night. I watched as Qingwanqiu staggered a few steps before gritting her teeth and sprinting in the opposite direction. I turned to face the thugs, trembling fingers clutching the hem of my shirt. What do you want? They circled me like starving wolves, their sinister laughter piercing the night. "Come play with us, little girl." A freezing hand roughly tore open my collar, sending violent tremors through my body. I shut my eyes in despair. Tears trickling down my temples into the dirt. "Shinshubai, in this lifetime, you owe me nothing, and I owe Qingwanqiu nothing. There's no chance for us anymore." The expected groping hands never reached me. A flurry of sharp punches and kicks came whistling through the air. The darkness erupted with a man's pained howl and the dull thud of a heavy body collapsing. A warm palm suddenly covered my bare shoulder. A scent both unfamiliar yet comforting whispered, "Don't be afraid, you're safe now." My taut nerves snapped at the soothing voice, my body going limp as I collapsed into their arms. Before darkness fully claimed me, one clear thought remained. This time, I hadn't succumbed to passion with Shinshubai, nor would I let those two unintended consequences come into existence this fateful night. Morning light streamed through the window as Shinshubai slowly opened his eyes. 6. When his fingertips brushed against the soft body beside him, he froze instinctively. Taking in the familiar room decor, he felt surprised yet relieved, with an inexplicable tinge of joy. Lately, he and Qingwanqiu had been constantly at odds over family matters, making their relationship unbearably tense. Many times he thought about just following his family's advice and choosing to be with Jingyi. Su Jingyi was smarter than Qingwanqiu, gentler, and better at winning over the elders. A future with her would probably be quite happy, now that the deed is done. It might actually turn out for the best, yet when he turned to embrace the figure beside him, his body froze the instant he recognized the face on the pillow. He jerked upright, the back of his head thudding against the headboard. How could this be? He distinctly remembered getting drunk last night. The woman who'd shared his bed was supposed to be Su Jingyi. How could the person curled up sleeping so soundly right now be Qingwanqiu? Why is she here? His memories of last night were hazy as if seen through frosted glass. As he shook Qingwanqiu awake, "What are you doing here?" Qingwanqiu gazed with dreamy eyes, her face flushed with a mixture of shyness and blissful rosiness. "What do you think? It's all because of you." "Oh, this is so embarrassing." Shinshubai had no time for romantic exchanges, his face etched with urgency. "Where's Jingyi?" A flicker of guilt crossed Qingwanqiu's face before she defensively snapped. "Why are you being so harsh? I'm your girlfriend. I just gave myself to you last night. What's this rush to chase after another woman?" Shinshubai's expression darkened further. He flung himself off the bed, threw on his clothes, and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. In the courtyard, he ran into his childhood friend approaching head-on and called out to him, "Shubai, why are you still here? Jingyi's in trouble, she's at the hospital." Shinshubai turned pale with shock. "What happened to her?" "She ran into some hooligans in Yuanfeng Alley last night and got harassed." The moment he heard this, all color drained from Shinshubai's face as he immediately bolted to leave, but Qingwanqiu rushed after him and stopped him in his tracks. Her eyes reddened as she choked out, "Shinshubai, what do you mean by this? You think you can just walk away after having your way with me?" Fragments of last night's events flashed through Shinshubai's mind, sending cold sweat trickling down his spine. A vein pulsed at his temple as he fixed Qingwanqiu with a piercing glare. "What exactly happened to Jingyi? Yuanfeng Lane is near your place. Why would she go there at night? And why did you suddenly show up at her house?" I don't know." Qingwanqiu's gaze darted nervously, unable to meet his eyes, her earlobes flushing crimson. "Shubai, this has nothing to do with me." Shinshubai's face turned ashen as he gripped her shoulders violently. "Qingwanqiu, what exactly happened to Jingyi? Tell me now." "She told me to leave first. I swear I never meant to abandon her." Qingwanqiu stammered, her face burning scarlet under Shinshubai's uncharacteristically ferocious glare. "I was running back to get your help, but you held me so tight the moment you saw me. You wouldn't listen no matter how I tried to explain." "I couldn't. I was so exhausted I just fell asleep." Qingwanqiu's voice grew increasingly faint as she spoke. Cold sweat trickled down Shinshubai's temples, tracing thin trails across his ashen face. He stood frozen like a soulless husk, lips turning leaden gray as his body convulsed violently. He flung Qingwanqiu to the ground, trembling fingers pointing accusingly at her. "Qingwanqiu, if anything happens to Jingyi, I'll never forgive you." When I woke up in the hospital, an older man was sitting by my bedside. 7. He looked familiar. Then I realized, the man who'd rescued me in the alley yesterday was Lu Zhanan, the neighbor boy I'd known since childhood. Their whole family moved down south to live a few years ago. "Zhanan, you're back," I exclaimed with delight. "Just came back to handle some family matters." Turns out Aunt Lu had taken unpaid leave back then, and this time her name was on the cotton mill's housing allocation list. Xiaonan returned specifically to claim the apartment on her behalf. I'm fine, just a bit anemic and the shock made me faint. After exchanging pleasantries with Lu Xiaonan, he rushed off to the factory to handle paperwork, making me promise to wait for his return so he could see me home. No sooner had Lu Xiaonan left the ward than Shen Shubai arrived in a flustered hurry. His eyes reddened instantly when he saw the handprint bruises those thugs had left on my face. Jingyi. How could those bastards do this to you? Does it hurt? When his gaze fell on the hickey on my neck, his eyes turned bloodshot with rage, his fist smashed into the wall with such force that blood instantly seeped through his knuckles. How dare they touch you? I'll fucking kill them. He seemed to have completely forgotten that he was the one who left those marks on my neck. Jingyi, don't be afraid, it's all my fault for not protecting you better. Even if someone did take advantage of you. Even if others look down on you, I don't care, I'll marry you. My heart ached with bitterness. In my past life, after I got pregnant, he promised to marry me and protect me forever. He truly kept his promise until his dying breath. But this kind of promise, I don't want it anymore. Shubai, I'm fine, they didn't harm me. Shen Shubai let out a relieved sigh, gazing at me with tender eyes. Jingyi, how could you be so reckless? Putting yourself in harm's way to buy Wanqiu time to escape. I can't bear to think what I'd do if anything happened to you. I turned to Shen Shubai. Shubai, she's the one you love. I did this of my own free will. Don't blame her. Shen Shubai's expression froze momentarily before he cleared his throat awkwardly. Jingyi, don't say that. You're both equally important to me. It would break my heart to see either of you get hurt. I fought back tears. Shubai. I realize now how clingy I was. I crossed boundaries. Now that you're with Wanqiu, she's the one you should be responsible to, not me. Shen Shubai's expression twisted with conflict as he sighed. Jingyi, things between Wanqiu and me aren't what you think. I can't even explain it myself. This feeling between us. Alright. I cut him off, feigning disgust. Spare me the mushy love story. Nobody wants to hear that. Stop using me as your excuse. I'm still single and don't need people spreading rumors. Shen Shubai chuckled and ruffled my hair. Nonsense, silly girl, I promised I'd always have your back. I'll protect you till my dying breath. There won't be another lifetime. When fate runs its course, it needs no dramatic quarrels or bitter farewells. Just gently unclasp those intertwined hands, letting each other dissolve into the crowd. This time, Shen Shubai won't have to marry me out of obligation. Nor spend 40 guilt-ridden years mourning the girl who died for him, and you certainly didn't need to die saving me. The tangled threads of our past finally unraveled in that moment. I playfully punched Shen Shubai like old times, feigning anger. Who's your brother? I'm your sister. Alright, I'm fine. It's not even Sunday, you should get back to work. Shen Shubai glanced at his wristwatch and stood up, saying, I'll come see you after work and bring those wontons you love from your favorite spot. As I watched Shen Shubai walk away, the smile on my lips gradually faded, tears streamed down uncontrollably. From then on, we became me and you. The time we shared remains indelible, though we're now embarking on separate journeys. Tuck away the memories gently, no more disturbances, no more entanglements. After work, Shen Shubai skipped his usual routine of seeing Wanqiu home and rushed to buy Su Jingyi's favorite wontons to deliver to the hospital. 8. But the hospital bed was already occupied by a new patient. Puzzled, he asked the nurse and learned Su Jingyi had been discharged. Shen felt baffled. They'd clearly agreed she'd wait for him that morning, so why had Jingyi left alone? But he didn't dwell on it, assuming it was just a bed shortage and she'd been discharged home early. Yet when he rushed back to the compound, Su Jingyi's front door was secured with a heavy brass padlock. After a stunned pause, a sudden realization hit him. He turned and bolted back to the hospital to ask his mother, Mom, have you seen Jingyi? What's she doing running around everywhere instead of going home after being discharged? Mrs. Shen sighed and took an envelope from the drawer, handing it to him. Shen Shubai didn't take it, his face suddenly darkening. What do you mean by this? Don't you know yet? Jingyi's gone. She even quit her secure government job. She's never coming back. Mrs. Shen's eyes welled up as she forcefully pressed the envelope into his hand. Jingyi came to see me before she left. This is the letter she left for you. The bowl of wontons slipped from Shen Shubai's grasp, spilling broth across the floor. His hands trembled as he opened the envelope. Inside lay only a letter and a withered, yellowed foxtail grass ring. But it was just something he'd casually woven for Su Jingyi as a child. He still remembered his younger self solemnly vowing to Su Jingyi, when we grow up, bring this to me and I'll exchange it for a gold ring, then I'll marry you. The letter contained just a few brief lines. Dear Shubai, may we each find peace in the years to come, I'll live my life well, you take your time, let's not look back, wishing you and Wancho happiness and fulfillment, Jingy. Shubai suddenly felt as if a rusted needle had been driven straight into his heart. It couldn't be pulled out, nor could it ever heal. This pain cut 100 times deeper than when Wancho had broken up with him. Only then did he realize that the mundane days with Su Jingy had quietly woven into a net trapping him. The moment the net was yanked away, he awoke to the weightlessness of his own emotions. The southbound train departed at dusk. 9. Pressing my forehead against the window. The glass reflected my pallid face, like a withered flower. Jingy, the familiar voice made me jerk my head up. A man in a military overcoat stood in the aisle, his chiseled face alight with surprise. It was Lu Jianan. I never expected to run into him again so dramatically in the sleeper car just hours later. Then it dawned on me. The city his family had moved to was the same as my destination. As Lu Jianan struggled through the crowd, I finally got a clear look at the childhood neighbor who always shielded me, now standing tall with a determined glint in his eyes. He settled into the seat opposite me and asked, "This train's bound for Guangzhou. What are you doing here?" His gaze lingered on my swollen eyes, his brow slightly furrowed. I bit my lip, my throat tightening. Memories came flooding back like a tidal wave. After our marriage and our past life, Shubai remained perpetually melancholy, leaving me to shoulder all burdens alone both at home and beyond. As the children grew up, the meager wages from the cotton mill could no longer support our family. So during the early days of reform and opening up, I rode the wave of change, quit my stable government job and plunged into private business. Lu Jianan was my rock during the toughest times. He leveraged his connections to bring me clients and secure orders. Brother Jianan, the words barely left my lips when bitter tears broke free, splashing heavily onto the back of my hand. Only now did I dare admit, even that seemingly graceful sacrifice couldn't mask the crushing unfairness of it all. I'd given everything in my past life, yet Shubai withheld even scraps of affection or basic decency, playing the saint while acting the tyrant. What gave him the right? Lu Jianan tactfully refrained from prying. He fished a handkerchief from his pocket and offered it to me, his voice both gentle and resolute. The South is full of opportunities now. After my military service, I got a factory job too. The pay's way better than up north. If you're willing, come with me. I can get you a temp job at the factory to start, then we'll figure things out once you're settled. I looked up into Lu Jianan's earnest eyes, feeling warmth spread through my chest. After all these years, he's still the same brother who'd stand up for me when I'm in trouble. Brother Jianan, I'm so glad I met you. I don't think I'll be coming back this time. I want to see the world out there. I murmured hesitantly. You've got this. Lu Jianan's voice brimmed with encouragement. You've always been bright since childhood. If you work hard in Guangzhou, you'll surely build a good life for yourself. The train pressed onward as the scenery outside the window kept shifting. Listening to Lu Jianan describe the world beyond, the gloom in my heart gradually lifted. Perhaps this journey wasn't just an escape, it was the dawn of something new. Twilight crept across the windowsill as Shubai stared at the jasmine tea cooling in his enamel mug. 10. The floating tea leaves mirrored that radiant girl who always waited for him by the factory gate after work. She'd always wear a floral sundress with twin braids, clutching a brown paper-wrapped book to her chest. Whenever she spotted him, her eyes would sparkle with playful mischief as she teased, "Master Shen, could you tell me about this Pavel Korchagin?" When he first got together with Wancho, he didn't notice any changes in his life. Su Jingy remained that clingy little girl, her sweet voice calling his name echoing incessantly in his ears. These days Wancho kept hinting he should take responsibility for that night, but he only found it tiresome, using his mother's upcoming surgery as an excuse to brush things off. Alone at night, his fingers would unconsciously trace the letter Su Jingy left behind. Every word on it felt like a rusty blunt knife repeatedly gouging his heart. He scanned the modest room. Su Jingy's presence lingered in every corner. The red plastic slippers by the door, the scarf hanging behind it, the poetry collections on the bookshelf, the bookmark pressed beneath the glass desktop. She'd always considered this place her home since childhood. He used to complain about her chattering and found her annoying, always shying away from his true feelings. Now he finally understood. Through 20 years of shared days and nights, she had become etched into the very fabric of his life. When Shubai found me, Guangzhou was already in the sweltering heart of summer. 11. The asphalt radiated heat waves under the scorching sun. and even the usually pristine Shinshubai had sweat stains blooming across the back of his shirt. He held a ring woven from roadside foxtail grass, with beads of sweat glistening even on his eyelashes. Scanning the surroundings, he instinctively lowered his gaze when spotting me. Wiping his forehead before approaching, "Jingy," he murmured hesitantly, "I'm late. Do you still want me?" I remembered how Shinshubai avoided me for ages after I told him I was pregnant in my past life. He only reappeared when I'd given up all hope and decided to terminate the pregnancy to cut ties with him completely, the same haggard, tormented look he wears now. My softened heart grew harder again. "Shubai, what brings you here?" Shinshubai snapped out of his daze and carefully pulled out a stamped document from his satchel. "Jingy, I got a recommendation letter from the factory. I want to marry you. Will you be my wife? But Chingwancho is your girlfriend." I took a step back, eyeing him coolly. I couldn't fathom what he wanted. I'd already distanced myself to give them space, yet he just wouldn't let me be. "I didn't realize my feelings for you before, Jingy. What I had with Chingwancho meant nothing." He hastily grabbed my hand. "Shinshubai." I cut him off, gently pulling my hand free. "You don't actually love me, you just can't handle me walking away suddenly. I know better than anyone, the person you love isn't me. Just go, don't waste your time on me, or you'll regret it later." Shinshubai shook his head, eyes bloodshot as he pleaded, "No, I love you, only you. These days without you, I couldn't eat or sleep, but when Chingwancho broke up with me, all I felt was relief, like I'd been set free. Losing you breaks my heart, Jingy. I know what real love is." I smiled bitterly. I used to think Shinshubai was just indecisive, but now I see the truth. He loves no one but himself. He's forever restless for what he can't have. Chingwancho, the woman who died for him in her past life, and now in this life, it's me who walks away. In the distance, Lu Zhaonan pedaled his old bicycle to pick me up from work for a movie date. Just as I was about to bid farewell to Shinshubai, he suddenly dropped to one knee and clutched my legs. His tears soaking through my skirt in an instant. "Jingy, come back with me, let's start over." My heart ached unbearably. The man before me, the one I'd loved for decades across 2 lifetimes, now knelt weeping at my feet, begging for another chance. How could my heart remain untouched? Yet I suddenly remembered how he desperately tore off his wedding ring and flung it out the window in our past life's final moments. Why repeat the same mistakes? "Shubai," I said impassively with a sigh. "Let's both move forward." Lu Zhaonan recognized Shinshubai and suddenly rushed over, slapping him hard on the shoulder. "Shubai, what brings you here? No need for formalities when dropping by." Shinshubai, ever concerned about appearances, hastily wiped his face and stood up. "Brother Zhaonan, long time no see." He forced a polite smile. "I'm here on business and thought I'd drop by to see Jingy." Lu Zhaonan seemed to have noticed something and asked casually, "Jingy and I are going to catch a movie, what about you?" Shinshubai waved his hand. "No, you two go ahead." Then he turned to me. "Jingy, I'll come see you tomorrow." Knowing refusal would be futile, I climbed onto Lu Zhaonan's bicycle and rode away with him. Even as we pedaled far into the distance, I could still feel Shinshubai standing there motionless, his gaze full of melancholy. Shinshubai took extended leave from the factory and lingered in Guangzhou. 12. He'd wait for me after work nearly every day, bringing my favorite street snacks. Sometimes it's a bowl of wontons, other times rice noodle rolls, or a steamer of crystal clear shrimp dumplings. Knowing words would be futile, I stopped engaging with him. On that final evening, Shinshubai stood impeccably dressed, yet his face bore an unprecedented pallor and exhaustion. "Jingy, it's time for me to go. Take care of yourself from now on." His voice was hoarse, his entire being devoid of vitality. I thought he'd finally come to terms with it, given up, but then he said, "Got a letter from home, saying, Chingwancho is pregnant, twins, they're mine, we're getting married." He lowered his head, too ashamed to meet my eyes. I froze for a moment, then burst into silent laughter. How wonderful. I've finally broken free from this cycle of fate, in this life. I didn't donate my liver to save Aunt Shen, and Shinshubai never developed resentment while caring for me and Chingwancho out of gratitude. I'm no longer the one who got pregnant after a night of passion, so he doesn't have to marry me out of obligation. Shinshubai can finally grow old with the unattainable love he yearned for in his past life. I smiled sincerely at Shinshubai. "Shubai, I wish you both a joyful marriage and everlasting happiness." Shinshubai's Adam's apple bobbed with suppressed tremors. Fine bloodshot veins appeared at the corners of his eyes as unshed tears stubbornly clung to their brim. Finally, He roughly wiped his face with his hand and turned to leave. Lu Jianan emerged from beneath a nearby tree, rubbing his nose. I thought he was going to comfort me, but instead he sighed and said, even Shubai's getting married, yet here I am, the old bachelor. Sigh. I wonder if anyone would be kind enough to take me in. As he spoke, his eyes kept darting pointedly in my direction. I couldn't help but laugh, and all traces of my earlier melancholy vanished instantly. Fine then, I'll reluctantly do the heavens' work and take you out. You got it. 5 years later, the factory Lu Jianan and I started was thriving. 13. During my routine inspection, I unexpectedly ran into Qing Wanqiu on the workshop floor. In just 5 years, she aged 2 decades, her face gaunt, etched with the marks of time. I couldn't understand why she'd left Beijing for factory work in Guangzhou, especially after having twins, so I had the workshop supervisor tactfully probe for answers. Turns out she divorced Shen Shubai shortly after childbirth, now struggling alone to raise both children in grinding poverty. Without a word, I turned and found an excuse to give her a raise. The sigh dissolved into the wind. Their story was but a speck of dust in countless cycles of rebirth. Yet the tale of Lu Jianan and me flows eternally through the river of time. After Jingyi left, I wandered through my days and a days. Extra. The moment my mother's surgery was over, I immediately arranged for unpaid leave from the factory. Qing Wanqiu couldn't understand and physically blocked my way. Shen Shubai, I'm your woman, why didn't you discuss this with me first? I fell silent, then resolutely pulled her hand away. Wanqiu, I've wronged you, I'll do anything to make it right. Whatever you ask of me, but now, I must go find Jingyi. Qing Wanqiu's eyes burned with hatred as she screamed hysterically, Shen Shubai, you've ruined my virtue, how could you ever repay me for that? Do you really think Su Jingyi would forgive you? In your dreams, she loves me, I said firmly, meeting her gaze. If I go to her, she'll forgive me. With that, I left the sobbing Qing Wanqiu behind and boarded the southbound train. Jingyi remained gentle toward me, but this time, her eyes held no affection, only indifference and disdain. I realize I'm probably going to lose this girl who once had eyes only for me. In our past life, when Shen Shubai's mother needed a liver transplant due to cirrhosis, we all went for compatibility tests. Only I and his girlfriend Qing Wanqiu were matches. Me, I knew Jingyi was utterly miserable and completely fed up. Yet she still couldn't bring herself to speak harshly to me. The letter from Beijing came. Qing Wanqiu was pregnant. I had to return and face my responsibilities as a man. On our wedding night, Qing Wanqiu nestled happily in my arms, yet I dreamed of Su Jingyi that night. In my dream, it was our wedding anniversary. She surprised me with some futuristic technology one couldn't even name. The starry sky formed giant glowing words. Happy Ruby Anniversary, Jingyi, I love you. I woke up calling her name in bliss, only to meet Qing Wanqiu's tear-filled eyes. After that, Wanqiu Qing always held resentment in her heart. Our marriage grew increasingly joyless. What was once love had turned into mutual bitterness after the wedding. We finalized our divorce shortly after the child was born. I went to Guangzhou to see Jingyi, watching from a distance as Jianan gently supported her heavily pregnant frame. Her eyes held a radiant glow I'd never seen before. I left quietly alone, never to see her again. The end. Next story. When the wealthy family came to adopt my sister, decisively left with them, leaving only me to rely on my grandmother. She thought she would enjoy wealth and splendor from then on, but the wealthy family's son turned out to be a madman who abused her daily. The parents were biased, only scolding and beating her. In the end, she went insane, stabbed the entire family, and was arrested by the police. Meanwhile, I became the youngest academician at the Agricultural Academy, developed high-end wheat varieties, was nominated for a special award, and had a boundless future. My sister fled and stormed into the awards ceremony, killing me with hatred in her heart. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day the wealthy family adopted me. My sister rushed into our grandmother's arms first, her eyes filled with venom. Little sister, this time, it's your turn to go to hell. But she didn't know, no matter which path she chose, without using her brain, it would only lead to death. And my dream has always been just one: develop agriculture, change the world. 1. Have you made up your minds? Who wants to come with me? Inside the shabby little house stood a couple dressed in splendid attire. The woman gazed at us tenderly and asked softly. They were the prestigious Fu family from Ningqing, here to choose one child between my sister and me for adoption. Su Yinglong froze momentarily, her eyes flashing with wild joy before she shoved me aside and threw herself into Grandma's arms, pouting, I want to stay with Grandma. The woman turned her gaze to me, her eyes crinkling warmly as she said gently, then it's you who'll be coming with us, is that right? Su Yinglong chimed in from the side. Yes, yes, let the little sister go home with you. Grandma was rarely treated with such affection by Su Yinglong. Somewhat taken aback, she awkwardly reached out to pat the girl's head. Before this, Su Yinglong had despised Grandma for being poor, always ordering her around and calling her an old hag. Even when she craved snacks in the middle of a stormy night, she would wake up her elderly grandmother and order her to go buy things. Grandma found it somewhat strange. She knew that Su Yinglong despised the poor and admired the rich, always dissatisfied with their family's poverty. Why was it that when the wealthy man came to their home to adopt a child, contrary to expectations, Su Yinglong chose not to follow the wealthy family's departure, but to stay at home? Grandmother couldn't understand why Su Yinglong made the unprecedented choice to remain in this impoverished household, but I knew the reason all too well, because both Su Yinglong and I had been reborn. I knelt on the ground and kowtowed deeply to Grandma 3 times. Grandma, thank you for taking care of me all these years. If I ever get the chance, I will repay you. After kowtowing, I stood up. I walked calmly toward the Fu couple. I'll go with you, too. In her past life, her sister took the lead, rushing into the arms of the Fu couple and decisively choosing to leave with them. She thought that by entering the wealthy Fu family, she would henceforth enjoy a happy, princess-like life. Little did she know, the Fu family had ulterior motives for adopting a daughter. The Fu family had a son named Fu Jing, who was dignified and handsome in appearance. What a pity, he's a manic-depressive lunatic. When her sister Su Yinglong entered the Fu family, what awaited her wasn't the meticulous care of wealthy parents or her brother's domineering pampering, but rather the abuse of a madman. Seeing Fu Jing's condition had stabilized somewhat, the Fu parents decided to send him to school. Worried he might struggle alone, they resolved to adopt a child. On her first day entering the Fu household, Su Yinglong was filled with joy, eager to build a good relationship with Fu Jing. However, Fu Jing detested the sudden appearance of a stranger in his home. Far from welcoming her with a smile, he directly slapped Su Yinglong across the face. The Fu parents were unfazed by this behavior and paid no attention to the swelling on Su Yinglong's face. They merely issued a cold command for her to keep an eye on her older brother. At school, her classmates similarly looked down on Su Yinglong for being an adopted daughter. The crown prince of the school, Zhou Chongji, even took the lead in bullying Su Yinglong, making her school life utterly miserable. After returning home, whenever Fu Jing's parents discovered he had an episode at school resulting in self-injury, they would whip Su Yinglong with a cane and make her kneel all night as punishment. Su Yinglong had a hard life. In contrast to her, my life was very peaceful. After Su Yinglong left, Grandma devoted all her unconditional love to me. I studied diligently at school every day, and after school, I helped my grandmother sell baked sweet potatoes. Although life is tough, I feel truly happy. Later, an academician from the Academy of Agricultural Sciences came to inspect our school and immediately took a liking to me, living up to expectations. I successfully entered agricultural school, joined the Academy of Agricultural Sciences, conducted experiments under the academician's guidance, and developed high-end wheat varieties. This even led to my nomination as the youngest candidate for the top Science and Technology Award. A bright future with boundless prospects. Driven to madness by torment, Su Yinglong stabbed her entire family and was arrested by the police. It's just a pity I couldn't make it onto the podium. On the day of the award ceremony, Su Yinglong escaped from prison. Seeing me surrounded by the crowd at the center, she turned green with envy and stabbed me over a dozen times in a frenzied attack. So in this second chance at life, she chose without hesitation to stay by Grandma's side, determined to push me into the abyss of the Fu family. As I stepped out the door, I glanced back one last time. Grandma gazed at me with reluctant longing, her face full of unwillingness to part. Meanwhile, my sister Su Yinglong leaned against Grandma's embrace, her eyes fixed on me with nothing but pure venom. She sneered coldly, "Little sister, this time, it's your turn to go to hell." She was certain that once I entered the Fu family, I would suffer the same torment as her in her past life. But doesn't Su Yinglong, who has already died once, understand by now? No matter which path she chooses, a brainless person like her has only one fate, death. 3. Su Yinglong guessed right. From the very first day I entered the Fu household, I knew Fu Jing was a complete madman through and through. My parents brought me home and led me to a handsome young man with deep, dark eyes. They looked at Fu Jing and said softly, "Xiao Jing, from now on, she will be your little sister. At school, she'll take care of you." With that, Mrs. Fu pushed me forward, presenting me to Fu Jing like some kind of toy. From now on, your only task is to take good care of your brother. Don't let him suffer even the slightest harm, understand? I looked at the boy before me. Understood. After the Fu family parents left, Fu Jing lazily walked up to me, looking down at me with disdain. After a long pause, he sneered, "What kind of trash dares to call herself my sister?" The next moment, he reached out and forcefully slammed my head onto the table. It made a loud thud. His gaze was filled with violence, looking at me with contempt as if I were an insignificant ant. Idiot. At this moment, Fu's mother, who had forgotten something, happened to turn back. She saw me in a sorry state, with Fu Jing gripping my neck and pinning me on the table. She didn't show any surprise. After retrieving her item, she passed by Fu Jing, glanced at me, and said indifferently, "Fu Qiushi, keep a close watch. Don't let your brother get hurt." Choked by the neck, I could only roll my eyes to look at Fu Jing and softly replied, "Understood, I'll take good care of him." Watching Fu Jing's parents appear concerned yet actually indifferent towards him, I think Fu Jing is pitiful, truly pitiful. Fu's parents were busy with business trips and left quickly. After confirming they had truly left, I reached out, grabbed Fu Jing's hair, and yanked it down hard. My voice was calm. "Let go of me, you brainless lunatic." Fu Jing winced in pain from my movement. He involuntarily loosened his grip, glaring at me angrily. "How dare you insult me? I'll tell Mom and Dad and have you kicked out." I sidestepped Fu Jing, curving my eyes slightly as I smiled gently. "Mom saw everything just now. You were pinching me, and I didn't even dare to resist, so how could I possibly dare to insult you, brother?" As we went upstairs, I warned Fu Jing, "You'd better behave yourself and not cause any trouble before our parents get back." After saying that, I ignored Fu Jing's incredulous expression and walked away directly. Let Fu Jing rage outside, slamming the door so hard it shook the heavens. I remained completely unmoved, for Su Yinglong wasn't content with just pushing me into the abyss. She started a live stream, putting on a fragile act, tearfully holding up her phone to film. With her pure appearance and disheveled black hair, Su Yinglong looked even more innocent. Pitifully, she said, "My sister and I were raised by our grandmother since childhood, and I have deep feelings for her. Choosing between a life of luxury in a wealthy family and the long-term companionship of family bonds, because grandma's health isn't good, I ultimately decided to stay by her side, hoping to spend more time with her." After saying this, Su Yinglong paused and let out a bitter laugh. "But my younger sister chose to enter the wealthy family without even looking back, showing no concern whatsoever for how grandma would fare afterwards. I truly believe she's a cold and heartless person." Watching the live stream gain more and more viewers, after hearing Su Yinglong's words, many people followed the public opinion and mercilessly criticized me as an ungrateful wretch. Su Yinglong quickly added, "I'm not saying my sister's approach was wrong. Of course I understand that choosing wealth when given the option is human nature. I can understand her actions, of course." Su Yinglong tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and said softly, "I'll always stay by grandma's side." Su Yinglong stared at her phone screen, revealing a smile as pure as the only little white flower growing in a desert. She clenched her fists as if cheering herself on. "I'll live well together with grandma." Seeing Su Yinglong's innocent and harmless appearance, many netizens felt heartache for her. Her livestream was also recorded and spread as a video. For a time, everyone praised her as a little white flower blooming from the mud, and I was the greedy and opportunistic ingrate. 5. Unsurprisingly, almost all the students at school had seen this widely circulated video. Young Master Zhou Chongji was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He had never seen such a stubborn girl who, when faced with a choice between money and family, unhesitatingly chose family. Not only that, but she was also strong-willed and harmless. In contrast, my snobbish sister, who despises the poor and fawns over the rich, appears even more malicious and cunning. Zhou Chongji had always looked down upon worldly people like me, so he brought his gang and arrogantly cornered me at the restroom entrance. Zhou Chongji squatted halfway before me, smoking, looking down at me with disdain. He blew smoke into my face. "Look at you, how dare a filthy insect like you deserve to study in this school?" Zhou Chongji flicked the ash off his cigarette, then pressed the still burning tip directly onto my arm. I was held down, unable to move. I could only watch as Zhou Chongji's cigarette burned into my skin with a sizzling sound, quickly raising a red, swollen blister. Seeing this, the surrounding boys erupted in mocking jeers. Su Yinglong was called over and happened to witness this scene. Immediately, she widened her eyes, covered her mouth in shock, and exclaimed, "How could you do this?" Zhou Chongji looked up, lazily stood up, walked to Su Yinglong's side, and chuckled, "Hey, little one. Young master here is helping you get revenge. Don't you like it?" Su Yinglong swiftly glanced at me, concealing the triumph in her eyes. Then, she stomped her foot and glared at Zhou Chongji angrily. "I don't like this, it's too much." Zhou Chongji watched Su Yinglong scrunch her nose, let out a mocking laugh, grabbed her arm, and pulled her shoulder to walk out. "Don't like it? Next time I'll try a different approach." Su Yinglong's voice was sweet and coquettish. "Zhou Chongji, how could you treat a classmate like this? It's not allowed." Rounding the corner, Su Yinglong glanced back stealthily, casting me a contemptuous look. Naturally, she was smug. In her past life, Zhou Chongji was the one who bullied her the most at school. This lifetime, with their roles reversed, Zhou Chongji ended up falling for her and helped her bully me instead. "But, sister, to live a second life, relying on men, is this the only trick you've got?" 6. During Fu Jing's first few days at school, he behaved calmly, kept to himself, and didn't cause any trouble. But after handing in the exam papers, when I returned to the classroom, I found the place in complete chaos. Fu Jing's desk had been overturned, with books scattered all over the floor. The person who paid respects is no longer here. The classmates' eyes still held fear. They said, Fu Jing was sitting perfectly fine, then suddenly went mad in an instant, smashing everything within reach. I found Fu Jing in an empty classroom, with teachers hesitantly standing at the doorway, none daring to enter. He sat calmly on the only stool in the center of the classroom, with unfathomable violence hidden beneath his eyes. Su Yinglong witnessed this scene, and a flash of venomous hatred crossed her face. The scenes of being tortured by Fu Jing's madness in her past life were still vivid in her mind. She screamed in terror, "Fu Jing is a lunatic, he's sick." After taking care of Fu Jing for so long, how could she not know that people experiencing bipolar episodes shouldn't be provoked? I stepped forward and slapped Su Yinglong hard across the face, ordering her, "Shut up, don't speak." I slammed her against the wall. Su Yinglong's eyes widened as she was about to scream, but the next second, out of the corner of her eye, she saw Zhou Chongji approaching down the corridor with his entourage. Su Yinglong's eyes flickered as tears began to fall, sobbing as she said, "How could you bully me like this?" Zhou Chongji witnessed the scene, his jaw tightening in anger as he stormed over. "Hey, Fu Qiushi, are you looking to die?" But I completely ignored Zhou Chongji. Turning around, I stepped into the classroom. No one dared to enter and forcefully slammed the door behind me. Facing Fu Jing's suddenly raised terrifying gaze, with calm eyes, I extended the medicine bottle in my hand. "Take the medicine." Fu Jing's voice was icy as he said bluntly, "Get out." Seeing me approach step by step, Fu Jing's fingers curled slightly. The next moment, he stood up, grabbed my neck, and slammed me to the ground. Fu Jing's eyes were bloodshot as he growled from his throat. I said, "Get out." Given the circumstances, I wasn't the least bit surprised, but this is a school, not the Fu household, not a place where Fu Jing can act recklessly as he pleases. Having worked in the fields with my grandmother for years, if nothing else, my strength is truly formidable. Without a word, I pried open Fu Jing's grip, seized him by the collar, and flipped him straight onto the ground, pinning Fu Jing down. I enunciated each word slowly. I said, "Take your medicine." Fu Jing was having a bipolar episode at that moment and couldn't listen to a word I said. He struggled to get up. "How dare you treat me like this? I'll tell Mom and Dad to kick you out." My voice was icy. "Suit yourself." If it weren't for the fact that Grandma owed the Fu family a debt of gratitude that needed repaying, I would never have obediently left with the Fu family. Fu Jing couldn't outmatch me. With a fierce glare, he opened his mouth and bit down hard on my arm. He showed no mercy, and in an instant, blood gushed from my wound, but I wasn't about to indulge him. I threw a powerful punch to his face, covered in blood, and grappled with him. Having just vented his anger, Fu Jing had already exhausted his strength by now. In the end, I pinned him down with his hands twisted behind his back, forcing him to swallow the medicine. Fu Jing glared at me with hatred. "Fu Qiushi, you're insane." I slapped him mercilessly. "You're the insane one, moron." 7. Because this time Fu Jing had an episode at school, almost everyone knew Fu Jing had bipolar disorder. Su Yinglong even spread rumors at school, saying Fu Jing was a madman, violent and cruel, and everyone should stay away from him. Facing Zhou Chongji's inquiry, tears immediately welled up in Su Yinglong's eyes as she said tearfully, "Fu Jing is a terrifying person. I've seen him bully others before. I just wanted to keep my classmates away from him for their own safety. Upon hearing this, the subtle discomfort in Zhou Chongji's heart instantly dissipated. And he found Su Yinglong even more kind-hearted. He pulled Su Yinglong into an embrace and declared boldly with a wave of his hand, "Don't be afraid, stay with me. I won't let anyone bully you." Hearing this, Su Yinglong showed a shy expression. She blushed, lightly hitting Zhou Chongji's arm, and coquettishly said, "What are you talking about?" It was precisely because of these words Su Yinglong had been spreading. Fu Jing was already unsociable. And now, no one dared to get close to him, only I. As usual at school, kept an eye on Fu Jing, making sure he took his medicine on time. Fu Jing was very impatient with me, scolding me more than once to get lost. I watched Fu Jing swallow his medicine, took the bottle, and turned away. "Didn't want to be near you anyway," because last time when Fu Jing had an episode, I impatiently slapped Su Yinglong. Zhou Chongji saw it and thought I was bullying Su Yinglong, which made him despise me even more. At school, I often found my desks and chairs scribbled with words like bitch and slut using markers. When going to the cafeteria, people would intentionally bump into me, causing my food to spill all over me. Even when I went out briefly, I would return to find snakes, mice, or cockroaches in my backpack, sometimes dead, sometimes alive. Saw me freeze. Zhou Chongji leaned against the windowsill, laughing uproariously with his lackeys. I remained expressionless, walked over, and directly stuffed the thing back into his uniform collar exactly as it was. Zhou Chongji screamed in fright, jumping and shaking the mouse out of his clothes, cursing at me. "Are you insane?" Without saying a word, I turned and went back to my seat. Zhou Chongji's gaze was sinister as he glared at me. "I'm going to kill you." 8. Zhou Chongji and his group had numbers on their side. I always avoided them. If I could dodge them, I'd have a peaceful day. Can't escape. If they catch me, I'll have to endure some humiliation. But I never begged Zhou Chongji for mercy, even when he ground his foot on my hand, looking down at me arrogantly. "Tisk, Fu Qiushi, I see your mouth is quite stubborn." I was in so much pain that cold sweat poured down, but I refused to make a sound. Finally, Zhou Chongji found it boring and turned to leave with his entourage. Slowly getting up from the ground, I leaned against the wall, staring at Zhou Chongji's retreating figure, and hoarsely said, "Zhou Chongji, you'd better kill me if you get the chance, otherwise, I'll drag you down to hell with me." Hearing this, Zhou Chongji turned back with disdain. "Dumbass, think you're tough just for spouting some tough talk." Immediately after, there was a burst of uproarious laughter from a group of boys. Fu Jing often witnessed Zhou Chongji bullying me, but he would just give me an indifferent glance before turning away with complete apathy. Seeing this, Su Yinglong patted my face with a mocking smile and sneered, "Fu Qiushi, you're so eager to be Fu Jing's lapdog, but he's never cared about you at all." I don't have the strength to deal with Su Yinglong right now. I can only lean against the wall to catch my breath. After catching my breath, I lifted my foot and kicked Su Yinglong hard. She screamed in fear, took a few steps back, and glared at me angrily. "Bitch, why aren't you dead yet?" Then, as if struck by some amusing thought, she suddenly burst into giggles. She gloated triumphantly. "It's not time yet, my dear sister. Just wait to be plunged into a long, sunless nightmare." 9. Fu Jing and Zhou Chongji got into a fight. By the time I arrived, they were already grappling fiercely in the classroom, both bearing injuries. One was from the prominent Fu family of Ningqing, the other was the young master of the Zhou family. These two started fighting, and no one dared to intervene, fearing they might get hurt in the crossfire. The homeroom teacher stood at the door, anxiously pacing in circles. I glanced at Su Yinglong, who was hiding by the door, covering her mouth in excitement as she watched the drama unfold. It's obvious that these two people, who normally have no interaction, wouldn't fight for no reason. She must have instigated it. Su Yinglong saw me appear and curled her eyes smugly, revealing a row of white teeth. The Fu family parents are back from their business trip. When they find out Fu Jing got into a fight, guess what they'll do? "Little sister, you're done for." The sight of Su Yinglong irritated me. I raised my hand and slapped her hard. "Done for? Without Zhou Chongji here to protect you, don't you realize you're about to get beaten?" After finishing, I completely ignored Su Yinglong's screams behind me. I stepped into the classroom without hesitation. Fu Jing's bipolar disorder flared up again at this moment, his eyes bloodshot as he tightly gripped Zhou Chongji's neck. Zhou Chongji wasn't one to back down either, pinning Fu Jing to the ground and punching him repeatedly in the face. I stood aside, grabbed a long stick, and mercilessly smashed it onto Zhou Chongji's head. With a loud clang sound, struck by this unexpected blow, Zhou Chongji's eyes rolled back as he lost consciousness. I flung the stick away, feeling immensely satisfied. The teacher outside screamed in terror at the sight. Fu Qiushi, this child is way too bold. Quick, quick, get Zhou Chongji to the infirmary. Seeing Zhou Chongji pass out, Fu Jing still stubbornly refused to let go, his hands clenched around Zhou Chongji's neck. I was afraid he might actually strangle Zhou Chongji to death. I had no choice but to hold Fu Jing down, prying his fingers open one by one while soothing him. Calm down, Fu Jing. Fu Jing's eyes darted around before glaring at me viciously, seemingly wanting to throw a punch my way too. I preempted him, twisting Fu Jing's arms behind his back and restraining him. Calm down. Unwilling to yield, Fu Jing struggled a few times before suddenly biting down on my arm. Damn it, biting again. Is he part dog or something? I spoke rapidly. Right now I'm your only acquaintance at school. I have your medication, I can take good care of you, so please calm down. Okay, be good, be good. I won't let anyone bully you again. Listening to my comforting words, perhaps it was the taste of blood in Fu Jing's mouth that made his crimson eyes glare at me fiercely before he slowly loosened his bite. 10. The incident blew up into a huge deal. The teacher summoned both sets of parents to the school. The Zhou parents looked at Zhou Chongji's injuries and smiled thinly at the Fu family. Your adopted daughter here has quite the vicious streak. Hearing this, Father Fu shot me a sidelong glance and mercilessly slapped me hard across the face. Instantly, my cheek swelled up, and I could almost taste the faint metallic tang of blood from the broken skin inside my mouth. Father Fu said with a smile, yes, this child is beyond discipline. I hit too hard, my apologies. In front of the Zhou family, Father Fu berated me sternly and harshly. Immediately, he told me to get out, saying he would have a good talk with the Zhou family. Just as I was leaving, Father Fu patted my shoulder and said softly, well done. Seeing me walk out with a swollen, red face, Su Yinglong's eyes curved with delight as she giggled triumphantly, covering her lips mockingly. Sister, you're done for. You'll get the whip when you go back, and kneeling as punishment. None of it will be spared, and when that madman has an episode, you might end up suffering terribly at his hands. Just seeing her irritates me. Grabbing Su Yinglong by the throat, he slammed her against the wall and glared coldly. Watch your mouth, he's ill, not insane. Su Yinglong was being choked by me, struggling to breathe as teardrops welled up uncontrollably in the corners of her eyes. Her face flushed crimson as she kept slapping my hand. Truly Fu Jing's well-trained dog, so fiercely protective of its master. At that moment, Zhou Chongji walked out of the office with a darkened expression. Seeing me choking Su Yinglong, he stepped forward and forcefully pulled us apart, his gaze impatient. Bullying your sister again, how vicious. The deep-seated grudge from that time I hit you with a stick. At this moment, Zhou Chongji's gaze upon me was icy cold. He stared at me coldly. You've really crossed the line this time. Fu Qiushi, with curved eyes, I looked at the two people before me and said cheerfully, want to kill me? What a pity. Too late. Fu Jing walked out calmly from behind the door. Lifting his eyelids slightly, he grabbed me by the collar and pulled me outside. Fu Qiushi, let's go. Witnessing this scene, Su Yinglong widened her eyes in shock, her expression almost completely disbelieving. Impossible. When did you become so close with him? I ignored it. I shook off Fu Jing's hand and frowned at him. Are you sick? Fu Jing paused mid-step, his expression awkward as he looked at me. He moved his lips but said nothing. Lift your leg and walk straight forward. I warily sized up Fu Jing, sensing something was off about him. Unusual events always signal hidden trouble. After a long pause, Fu Jing finally took a deep breath. I heard it. When that white lotus called me crazy, you scolded her. Why are you helping me? Fu Jing seemed somewhat confused. I haven't been kind to you. I let out an "oh" and said, I just don't like her and wanted an excuse to teach her a lesson. Besides, I frowned, staring at Fu Jing with genuine confusion. I've always called you crazy. 11. Fu Jing seemed to have unilaterally started a cold war with me. This is my deduction, because when I previously supervised Fu Jing taking his medicine, he still mocked me. Idiot. Sometimes he acts against me, deliberately knocking over the medicine, but now, Fu Jing doesn't even glance at me, coldly taking the medicine and swallowing it in one gulp, though I don't know what madness has taken hold of him again. But I find this version of Fu Jing quite easy to handle. After he took his medicine, I simply returned to my seat to continue working on the problems. Thanks to Su Yinglong's choices in this lifetime, although Fu Jing is a madman, the Fu family never shortchanges me financially. In my previous life, I attended school during the day and helped my grandmother sell baked sweet potatoes at night. Without money, I couldn't bear to buy supplementary teaching materials. The workbooks were bought at low prices from senior students, filled with scribbles and notes, repeatedly practiced several times before being reluctantly set aside. Now, there's a housekeeper taking care of things at home, and a chauffeur handles the school commute. Every month, Mother Fu transfers a large sum of money into my account. I don't need to worry about running out of money at all. In contrast, Su Yinglong's life was much more financially strained. Grandma was getting old. Braving the bitter cold wind every day to sell roasted sweet potatoes, yet barely earning any money, she relied on poverty subsidies to get by each month. But having lived a life of privilege in her past existence, suddenly returning to a life of scarcity left her in utter disarray. Su Yinglong already had poor academic performance, making her future prospects bleak. Now, she can only cling to Zhou Chongji's affection for her to regain a shred of faith in the future, occasionally returning home. Su Yinglong would often angrily scold her grandmother, "You old thing, why can't you come up with money, go out and earn some quickly?" Considering Grandma's advanced age, I worried that overexertion might harm her health. I deliberately saved up my monthly allowance and, taking advantage of Su Yinglong's absence, slipped the money to Grandma. I told her, "Buy whatever the household needs, but don't spoil Su Yinglong. And don't let her keep ordering you around. Be good, Grandma." Grandma held my hand, her cloudy eyes looking at me with guilt. "Chosher, it's Grandma's fault for being useless. When you're old, you can't earn money, and instead have to send you away. Chosher, don't let anyone bully you out there." My eyes grew warm as I squeezed Grandma's hand back, smiling. "Grandma, I'm living very well now. Mom and Dad treat me well, and so does my brother. No one bullies me." Only then did Grandma seem to set her mind at ease, patting my hand slowly. "That's good. That's good." When leaving, Grandma held on to me and insisted on stuffing a bag of sweet potatoes into my hands. "These are grown by Grandma herself, healthy. Take them back for your parents to eat." I couldn't refuse. So I had to take it in my hands. "Grandma, I'll come see you next time. Take good care of yourself." Grandma stood at the door, watching me leave as she waved cheerfully and said, "I'll be waiting for you." When I got home, I saw Fu Jing sitting on the couch downstairs, flipping through a book impatiently. Seeing me return, his tone carried some displeasure. "Where did you go? Why didn't you wait for me after school?" Noticing me carrying a dirty plastic bag with soil stains into the house, Fu Jing's expression grew even more disdainful. "What's this? It looks filthy." I couldn't be bothered with Fu Jing and walked into the kitchen to wash and dry the sweet potatoes. Fu Jing followed me in, crossing his arms and standing arrogantly to the side. "Why did you buy these?" "I went to see Grandma today. These are the ones she grew." Fu Jing had heard about me and snorted through his nose, seeing me start cooking. He stiffened his neck and reluctantly said, "Hey, Fu Qiushi. I want a taste too." I didn't add any seasoning, just boiled the sweet potatoes in plain water. Fu Jing frowned, picked at the skin with a fork, and tentatively took a bite. "Just barely acceptable. The taste is alright. Your grandma grew them well." Watching Fu Jing's awkward demeanor, for the first time ever, I didn't find him quite so detestable. As we went upstairs, I casually patted his head like petting a dog. "Finish it. Don't waste." Fu Jing widened his eyes and gasped sharply, "Fu Qiushi. How dare you?" 12. Since the last time his parents were called to school, Zhou Chongji reluctantly behaved himself for a while, but every time I passed by, I couldn't help but notice, his gaze at me was icy cold, as if plotting something. Similarly, Su Yinglong also quieted down, yet, her gaze remained as venomous as ever. "Why don't you get confined? Why didn't you get beaten? Fu Qiushi, how exactly did you manage it?" I looked at her and smiled faintly. "Want to know?" The next moment, gripping the back of her neck, I stood on the stairs, leaned down, and whispered by her ear, "Then get on your knees and beg me." "Sister, the answer is actually quite simple. Understand clearly what each character desires." The Fu family parents were too busy with work, so they wanted someone to take care of their child at school and ensure a stable life. Fu Jing had been neglected since childhood, so he hoped to have companionship and receive care. I just hope my school life passes quietly. Use your brain to find the balance between these three. Take the initiative to put in some effort. The problem will be easily solved. Unfortunately, in her previous life, Su Yinglong was too selfish, only thinking of herself and unwilling to compromise in the slightest. This is the difference between her and me. Su Yinglong's body trembled with anger as she glared at me hatefully. A moment later, she took a deep breath, Forcefully suppressing the anger in her heart, she sneered, just wait and see. Fu Qiushi, without grandma by your side, do you really think academician Fan would choose you as his disciple in this lifetime? Keep dreaming. In this lifetime, I will definitely live better than you. 13. The weather turned bitterly cold right after Christmas. It was rare for Ningqing to have snowfall. After Su Yinglong's harsh words to me last time, she's now doubling her efforts to please Zhou Chongji. After all, winning Zhou Chongji's favor and becoming the fiancé of the Zhou family's crown prince would bring immense prestige. This was an honor she wouldn't have dared to dream of in her past life. As the new year approached, the school was decorated with lanterns and red banners, giving the campus a fresh new look. I knew this was the school administration's effort to prepare the environment for the arrival of the academician from the Agricultural Academy who would be giving a speech. As for me, I continued my routine life, shuttling between school and home. Occasionally when Su Yinglong wasn't home, I'd go visit grandma. This peaceful life suits me just fine, but ever since Fu Jing didn't find me waiting after school last time, he's been keeping a very close eye on me. When I went to visit grandma, this young master would sit in the car, condescendingly waiting for me to come out, under the pretext of being afraid I'd cause trouble. Me, who's the real troublemaker here? Sometimes when Fu Jing grew impatient waiting, he'd follow me inside with a look of disdain. A pampered young master like Fu Jing did seem out of place in this cramped rental unit in the urban village. Granny nervously wiped her hands, unsure how to properly host. Fu Jing meticulously cleaned off a small stool before sitting down, unusually calm for once, pretentiously holding a disposable cup with 2 fingers. He sneered, "Sitting here any longer will give me rheumatism." I glared at Fu Jing. "Young master, sit if you want, or get lost if you don't." Fu Jing shot me a vicious glare, but his butt seemed glued to the stool, refusing to budge. It wasn't until I finished helping grandma with her chores that Fu Jing reluctantly stood up. Grandma looked at Fu Jing kindly and said cheerfully, "Xiao Jing, come visit again with Qiushi next time." Fu Jing cleared his throat and reluctantly forced a smile at his grandmother. "See you next time." As I stepped outside, I unexpectedly encountered someone I hadn't anticipated. 14. Zhou Chongji stood at the alley entrance with a dark expression, flanked by a group of underlings carrying clubs. Zhou Chongji stared at us and let out a sinister chuckle. "Finally caught you." He sauntered forward slowly, a hint of disdain curling at the corners of his lips. "You've really picked a great spot. No cameras, no people." He tapped the long rod in his hand leisurely and said, "Even if I kill you all today, no one would ever know. Zhou Chongji is following us." With a sweep of my gaze, I quickly assessed the number of people and immediately formed a plan in my mind. Fu Jing, who feared nothing in heaven or earth, lifted his eyelids and coldly spat 2 words at Zhou Chongji. "Idiot." Hearing this, Zhou Chongji laughed in extreme anger. "Let's see today who's the real idiot." I took a step back, nudged Fu Jing's arm with my elbow, and whispered, "Follow my lead." Fu Jing raised an eyebrow in surprise. "You can fight too." I stared at Zhou Chongji approaching step by step, counting down under my breath. 3, 2, 1. Fu Jing spoke calmly. "Tell me, who should we beat up?" At the last moment, I grabbed Fu Jing's hand and shouted sharply, "Run." I yanked Fu Jing away, and he exclaimed in shock, "Didn't you say we were going to fight back?" I ran with practiced ease, deftly weaving through the alleyways with Fu Jing in tow. Even while panting for breath, I still had the energy to scold him. "Are you out of your mind? There are 18 of them and only 2 of us. How could we possibly fight? Having backbone is good, but those who can't assess the situation are just fools. Both my brain and hands are crucial. My dream is to cultivate high-end wheat unique to China. I can't afford to get injured." Fu Jing let out a disdainful snort from his nose. Coward. But he wasn't actually stupid enough to go back and pick a fight with Zhou Zhongji. After saying these words, Fu Jing fell silent. Fortunately, I had lived here for a long time and was very familiar with the terrain. I led Fu Jing to a dead end, scaled the wall in a few steps, then quickly pulled him over. After hiding, I pulled Fu Jing down to crouch, pressing our ears against the wall as we listened to Zhou Chongji's men cursing while running away. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. Turning my head, I saw Fu Jing staring at me in a daze. I frowned. "What are you doing?" After hesitating for a moment, he muttered, "That moment when you climbed over the wall just now was pretty cool." 15. Su Yinglong caused another scene. One night, she suddenly showed up at the Fu family's doorstep, weeping pitifully, holding a camera. She sobbed while banging on our door. "Little sister, grandma is sick, please go see her." Behind where the camera couldn't see, A vicious glint flashed in Su Yinglong's eyes as she said weakly, "Come with me quickly to see Grandma." Disdainful of her family's shabby home, Su Yinglong had long since moved out of the rental and settled comfortably into the apartment Zhou Chongji rented for her. She rarely returned, even if Grandma fell ill. How could she know before I did? Besides, I just visited Grandma not long ago. She had a rosy complexion and was in good health. Su Yinglong's move was undoubtedly a weasel giving New Year's greetings to a chicken, harboring no good intentions. I checked the surveillance footage from Grandma's house, took a glance to confirm she was safe and sound, then reached out to close the door. "Come on, sis, I can see you're brewing up some mischief." Su Yinglong flusteredly blocked the door, putting on an anxious performance. "I'm serious. Little sister, Grandma is really sick and wants to see you at home," I scoffed, eyeing Su Yinglong. "Next time, try acting more convincingly, sis, then I might consider it." Fu Jing stepped out from behind me, his eyelids lowered as he looked down at Su Yinglong with disdain, as if observing an insignificant insect. He frowned in disgust. "What kind of stray cats and dogs dare knock on our door? Are the security guards just for show?" Fu Jing pressed the intercom button, his voice icy. "Security. Escort this person out." Su Yinglong was escorted out by security with a tearful voice. Before leaving, the camera she held kept pointing in our direction. Su Yinglong glared at us from afar with venomous eyes, silently mouthing, "You're done." "Done with what? Do you really think I'm stupid and can't see?" her blatantly holding up her phone. "I just want this wind to blow stronger, even stronger. The higher you climb, the harder you'll fall." Of course, 16, on the scheduled date. Academician Fan arrived as promised, because Academician Fan is a renowned scholar at the Academy of Agricultural Sciences. When she arrived, many newspaper reporters came to the school together to interview her. Just as the principal respectfully invited Academician Fan to tour the school together, Su Yinglong rushed over, holding her phone and sobbing. She knelt on the ground, grabbed Academician Fan's skirt with tears in her eyes, and cried, "Teacher, please help me. After my younger sister was adopted by the Fu family, not only did she ignore me and Grandma's well-being, but she also bullies me at school. I really have no other choice." Academician Fan was a very gentle elder. Seeing this, she quickly helped Su Yinglong up and asked with concern, "Child, what exactly happened? Who is your sister?" Su Yinglong sobbed while wiping her tears. "My sister is Fu Qiushi." Upon hearing this name, Academician Fan was momentarily stunned, and her gaze gradually sharpened. She said softly, "Can you tell your teacher in detail what exactly happened?" The reporters standing nearby instinctively raised their cameras the moment they saw Su Yinglong burst in. When they heard Su Yinglong mention bullying, their eyes lit up, and the red recording lights on their cameras blinked incessantly. They fixed their gaze on Su Yinglong and spoke gently, "Don't be afraid, child, we're journalists. We'll get you justice." Su Yinglong slowly raised her tear-reddened eyes and lifted her phone to play the video. That video was the one from a few nights ago when Su Yinglong came crying to the Fu family's door. As the video reached its conclusion, the journalist said indignantly, "This is too much. How could they be so ungrateful? What's this about bullying? Concerning the development of young people. We take campus violence cases very seriously and must resolutely eliminate school bullying. We will absolutely not tolerate it." Dean Fan let out a soft sigh and turned to the principal. "Please call the other child over. I'd like to hear her side of the story. Something like this happened so suddenly." The principal was sweating profusely and quickly had someone summon me to the office. As soon as he entered the office, he sternly reprimanded me, saying, "Fu Qiushi, even though you were adopted by the Fu family, Su Yinglong is still your relative after all. How could you bully your sister just because you're now a child of a wealthy family?" Standing opposite the principal, I looked up and smiled faintly, responding neither humbly nor arrogantly. "Principal, are you saying that no one, regardless of who they are, should bully classmates at school?" The principal raised his voice and declared, "Of course, this is a school. No matter what a student's family background is, once they enter the school, they are all students. The school will never tolerate any acts of bullying." Hearing this, I smiled contentedly, my eyes curving slightly. "Principal, I report that Zhou Chongji is bullying me at school." As soon as these words were spoken, the whole room erupted in uproar. Everyone knows that Zhou Chongji is the young master of the Zhou family in Ningqing. A person of noble status, he's not someone to be trifled with. In an instant, the reporters' cameras all swiveled to focus on me in unison. Cold sweat poured down the principal's forehead as he slammed the table hard. "Nonsense, you haven't even explained your own bullying behavior clearly. How dare you falsely accuse Zhou without evidence? 17. I slowly averted my gaze and sighed. First of all, the claim that I bullied Su Yinglong is completely fabricated. A baseless accusation from start to finish. A flicker of unmistakable panic crossed Su Yinglong's face. You're lying, she demanded. The principal retrieved the surveillance footage, pulling up all the recordings of me slapping her in the hallway. The surveillance footage clearly shows the truth. I slapped Su Yinglong. The principal slammed the desk and shouted sharply, Fu Qiushi, what explanation do you have for this? My gaze shifted as I shook my head. I admit that slapping Su Yinglong is a fact. It was an act of violence in a moment of desperation, and I willingly accept punishment. A smug expression appeared on Su Yinglong's face, then I changed my tone. However, every time I got angry and hit Su Yinglong, there was a reason. My brother Fu Jing has bipolar disorder, which makes him emotionally unstable. Yet Su Yinglong openly spread rumors at school that Fu Jing was a lunatic. Her actions undoubtedly worsened his condition. What's more, Su Yinglong always called Fu Jing a lunatic right in front of me. I raised my eyes and looked at the crowd. Fu Jing is a good brother, and I can't tolerate him being slandered like this by Su Yinglong. Almost everyone in the school knew that Fu Jing had bipolar disorder. Hearing this, the principal showed a thoughtful expression. A reporter whispered, indeed. Physical conflicts arising from verbal disputes are understandable and cannot serve as direct evidence of school bullying. After hearing the whole story, academician Fan tapped the desk and looked at me. So, your sister claims you've been neglecting our elderly grandmother. What's that about? I nodded and looked directly at academician Fan. I said softly, perhaps having my grandmother explain in person would be more convincing. 18. Fu Jing led Grandma into the office. On the way, Grandma had already heard the whole story. She looked at Su Yinglong with deep disappointment. As if unable to comprehend why the child would behave this way, with a choked voice, Grandma said, Qiushi is a good child. She's been helping me with farm work since she was little, never complaining about hardship or fatigue. Her withered, aged hands fumbled repeatedly in her clothes pocket before tremblingly pulling out a tightly wrapped cloth bundle. Unwrapping it revealed a bank card inside. Grandma slowly rubbed the bank card with her hands, tears streaming from her eyes. After Qiushi was adopted by the Fu family, she visited me every month and saved all her pocket money for this old woman to use. She worries about my poor health. Despite being busy with her own studies, she frequently comes back to visit me and helps with chores. Sis, Grandma's clouded eyes welled up with tears as she spoke guiltily. Is it because I'm not well educated that I failed to raise you properly? How could you lie and slander your younger sister like this? Hearing Grandma's words, Su Yinglong's face turned pale. She kept shaking her head. What are you talking about, Grandma? How come I never knew about Fu Qiushi visiting you? Su Yinglong forced a smile. Don't lie to everyone just to protect Fu Qiushi. Grandma staggered a couple of steps, trembling as if about to kneel before everyone. This old woman dares to guarantee Qiushi is truly a good child. She's never done anything wicked or harmful. Don't be harsh with the girl. Seeing my grandmother's actions, I immediately stepped forward and supported her. Grandma broke free from my hand, knelt down, and kowtowed to the crowd. With tears, she said, Yinglong is my fault for not teaching her well. Don't blame her. The reporter's eyes darted around. Having seen many scenes, they understood the situation clearly. The truth and falsehood could be distinguished at a glance. I helped Grandma to her feet and looked at Su Yinglong with a cold smile. Of course you wouldn't know that I often visit Grandma, because you despised our poor family and moved out long ago. Search your conscience. How many times did you visit Grandma in the 6 months after you left? Worried about Grandma's poor health and afraid she might fall or get sick with no one to care for her, I installed surveillance cameras at home. Watching as Su Yinglong's face grew paler by the second, I said coldly, you would have definitely noticed these things if you were at home, but, you know what? I pulled up the camera footage and displayed the surveillance records previously saved on my phone. In the video, Su Yinglong rarely came home, and whenever she did, she would rummage through drawers looking for Grandma's savings passbook, arrogantly demanding money from her. Fortunately, I had reminded Grandma in advance, so she hid the bank card I gave her very well. That's why Su Yinglong couldn't find it. In the video, Su Yinglong impatiently shoved Grandma and cursed, you old hag, truly a waste of life, can't even produce a single penny, what's the point of me staying with you anyway? And Grandma, pushed by Su Yinglong, staggered and fell to the ground, only able to apologize. I'm sorry, Grandma is useless, can't earn money. When I first saw these videos earlier, I was already burning with anger. Rushed to Grandma's house overnight to take her for a medical checkup. Fortunately, nothing serious happened, and now, the evidence left in the video has all become sharp blades pointing at Su Yinglong. From the moment I entered, Su Yinglong had stealthily propped up her phone on the bookshelf. Her phone was live streaming, recording everything from the very beginning. Her original intention was to provoke conflict and have netizens criticize me. Little did she expect the situation to reverse so quickly, silently intercepted by me. She had no chance to shut down the live stream. Netizens' reactions shifted from initial sympathy for Su Yinglong and insults toward me, to speechlessness as the tide turned, and finally to outright condemnation of Su Yinglong upon seeing those videos. How disgusting, what a vile white lotus, stop pretending to be innocent. And I actually thought she stayed with her grandma out of love. Turns out she just wanted to suck the old woman dry, feed off her bones. So cheap, so damn cheap. I was just defending her earlier, I regret it so much. 19. Academician fan helped grandma sit down, saying softly, "Sister Shoa, rest a bit and have some water." Grandma used to be a support worker in Academician fan's research lab, helping the department with soil tilling and planting, in her previous life. Academician fan remembered the elderly grandma and made a special visit after her speech, which led to the unexpected discovery of my natural talent in agriculture. Therefore, after working hard to get into agricultural school, I became Academician fan's student. In this lifetime, Su Yinglong wants to prevent me from meeting Academician fan, trying to stop me from following the same path as my previous life, but I was well prepared. Having already compiled and sent my thesis to Academician fan's email early on, after reviewing my thesis ideas, Academician fan was greatly impressed. We exchanged contact information, she learned about my situation, and arranged to meet me on the day of her lecture. So when Su Yinglong came in crying, Academician fan decided to hear the full story and understand the actual situation before drawing any conclusions as soon as she heard my name, and the outcome didn't disappoint her expectations. Then looking at me, Academician fan smiled gently, "Qiushi, you truly are a good child, I wasn't wrong about you." After a pause, she turned to the principal and said sternly, "The misunderstandings surrounding student Fu Qiushi have all been clarified. Now, it's time to call Zhou Chongji over and discuss his school bullying issues." Seeing this situation, the principal's forehead was beaded with increasingly more cold sweat the more he wiped. I smiled and said, "Of course, words alone are no proof. We can certainly review the surveillance footage first." When this matter was mentioned, Su Yinglong nearly lost her balance. I calmly opened the surveillance footage and played out every detail of Zhou Chongji leading a group to corner me, exactly as captured by the cameras. Of course, I wouldn't be as foolishly blatant and heavy-handed as Su Yinglong. I understand the wisdom of biding one's time and concealing one's strength. If I act, I'll strike like an eagle, lethal in a single blow. Today, I'm going to solve everything all at once. Zhou Chongji bullied me, that's a fact. And today, accompanying Academician fan are all elite reporters from Ningqing Daily. When it comes to sensitive topics like wealthy family bullying, they're like wolves catching the scent of blood, their eyes suddenly glowing red. They won't stop until they've torn off a piece of flesh. Zhou Chongji, even as the most esteemed young master of the Zhou family, has no one to protect him. 20. The course of events unfolded exactly as I had anticipated, with evidence in hand. This is practically an indisputable fact. Journalists widely publicized Zhou Chongji's bullying of classmates. Overnight, Zhou Group stocks plummeted severely, and even Zhou Chongji didn't come to school for several consecutive days. Fearing Zhou Chongji's violent retaliation, I behaved very obediently during those days, strictly following my school schedule without daring to stay outside a moment longer. Yet inevitably, I still ran into Zhou Chongji at school. Over these past few days, he's grown terribly haggard, with dark, sunken eyes and bluish circles beneath them. He stopped me. "Fu Qiushi, let's talk." I warily glanced around, making sure we were surrounded by classmates, before replying defensively, "I have nothing to say to you." Zhou Chongji ignored me, lowering his head to light a cigarette, holding the cigarette in his mouth, nicotine swirling in his lungs. He flicked the ash before speaking slowly, "That alley where I had someone block you, was that where your grandmother lived?" I frowned, unsure why Zhou Chongji would ask such a question. I replied defensively, "Don't even think about causing trouble for my grandmother. I've already moved her out. She's somewhere none of you can find now." Hearing my response, Zhou Chongji scoffed, tossed the cigarette butt to the ground, and crushed it under his foot. I didn't mean to take revenge on you. He was silent for a moment before murmuring, all this time, I never realized, Su Yinglong claimed to care about grandma, yet she never once went back to visit her. Zhou Chongji shut his eyes tightly, exhaling sharply, I see it clearly now. This is the retribution I deserve. I disliked you before because I thought you were money-grubbing, a greedy and opportunistic ingrate. That's exactly the kind of person my father was. He killed my mother. That's why I've always hated people like him the most, but only now do I realize, I'm a fucking idiot, being played like a fool while pretending to be righteous. Zhou Chongji pressed his lips together, lowering his head stiffly as he apologized to me. I'm sorry, Fu Qiushi. Seeing Zhou Chongji like this, I calmly took 2 steps back. Don't be disgusting. If apologies were enough, what would we need the police for? With that, I turned and walked away without looking back. Zhou Chongji stood behind me, quietly watching my retreating figure. He murmured softly, just consider me shameless. 21. I heard Zhou Chongji dumped Su Yinglong. Before long, rumors spread again that Su Yinglong was pregnant. She cried and made a scene at the Zhou family's doorstep, demanding they take responsibility. Unfortunately, the one who responded to her wasn't Zhou Chongji, but his father, old Mr. Zhou, already in a foul mood due to heavy stock market losses. Felt even more disgusted upon seeing Su Yinglong, the root cause of Zhou Chongji's scandal being exposed. He was still smiling when facing Su Yinglong, but his words showed no mercy. You're pregnant, how can you be sure it's my son's? A woman like you, Mr. Zhou leisurely sized up Su Yinglong. She was beautiful, a petite face the size of a palm, round eyes, and had been a beauty since childhood. Thus, whether in her past life or this one, she deluded herself into thinking she could captivate men with her looks. The only pity was, in her previous life, she opposed Fu Jing and suffered terribly for it, but in this life, Zhou Chongji saw through Su Yinglong's true nature and grew utterly disgusted with her. After sizing her up, Father Zhou smirked disdainfully, just a wave of my hand, and I could have plenty more. What makes you think you're anything special? Father Zhou waved his hand in utter disgust. Take her away. Abort the fetus, and then send her wherever she's supposed to go. Su Yinglong was forced to undergo an abortion. Within just a few days, she became severely emaciated, her cheeks hollowed out. When Grandma heard about this, she felt nothing but heartache, blaming herself for failing to raise Su Yinglong properly, but I knew clearly that all of this was Su Yinglong's own doing. I didn't want to upset Grandma, so I agreed to visit Su Yinglong at the hospital on her behalf. Su Yinglong lay on the hospital bed, her gaze vacant as she murmured, why is my fate still so miserable even after being reborn? How come I can never win against you? I watched her from a distance, expressionless. Your biggest mistake was placing your hopes on someone else. In your past life, you wanted to rely on the Fu family to become a young lady. Unfortunately, they had ulterior motives for adopting a daughter. So you couldn't accept it and directly opposed the Fu family without considering Fu Jing's illness, creating a vicious cycle that made Fu Jing dislike you even more. In this life, you want to rely on Zhou Chongji's affection to become a wealthy wife. Unfortunately, the version of you that Zhou Chongji likes is all an act. You can pretend for a while, but not for a lifetime. You could have chosen a path more suited to yourself, sister. The biggest difference between you and me is that I never rely on others. I place all my hopes on myself. Hearing my words, Su Yinglong froze for a moment, her face deathly pale as she shook her head, stubbornly insisting, I'm not like you, not at all. Su Yinglong screamed hoarsely, ordering people to throw me out. Later, I heard that after Su Yinglong recovered her health, she frequently visited bars and dance halls, places of decadent revelry. Relying on her looks, she indeed managed to hook up with quite a few wealthy men, but those men were just toying with her, and once they got bored, they quickly discarded her. Not a single one was willing to marry her. They sneered, you're just a whore who's been played by thousands. If it weren't for your decent face, I wouldn't even consider taking you in. In just a few months, Su Yinglong was forced to undergo multiple abortions. The last time, she encountered Zhou Chongji at a bar. Watching Zhou Chongji being surrounded by the crowd at the center, Su Yinglong's eyes turned red with rage as she grabbed a knife and walked towards Zhou Chongji. Zhou Chongji was stabbed dozens of times and immediately rushed to the emergency room, with his life hanging in the balance. Meanwhile, Su Yinglong was arrested and imprisoned for the crime of intentional assault. 22. I came across this news story through a web-page notification while checking my exam results. After the college entrance exams, Fu Jing scored well with 531 points. enough to get him into a good university in Ningqing. As for me, with 739 points, I was the top science student in the city. My goal was clear: to attend the agricultural school where academician Fan once studied. With the college entrance exams over and my duty of caring for Fu Jing completed, I decided to bid farewell to the Fu family. I slid forward a card. This is the prize money I earned from participating in competitions and inventing patents during high school. I've saved all the pocket money you gave me. I was adopted by the Fu family only to repay their kindness in helping my grandmother back then. Now, it's time to leave. Hearing my words, Fu Jing clenched his fists and said in disbelief, "You're leaving?" I smiled and reassured him, "Fu Jing, no one will stay by your side forever. You need to learn to say goodbye, now." Fu Jing's condition is well under control, and his bipolar disorder rarely flares up. Besides, my gaze softened. I have my own dreams to pursue, and I'm going after them. My dream is to cultivate premium wheat varieties, giving Chinese people access to high-end domestic crops, ensuring food security without relying on imports, encouraging citizens to prioritize local produce, enabling premium pricing for quality agricultural products, and helping farmers earn better incomes. I've had a dream since childhood. The crops my grandmother worked so hard to grow would no longer be sold at unfairly low prices. In my past life, I had already cultivated the wheat variety of my dreams, but now, all this remains just a vision. Today's China lacks high-end agricultural products in the international market. Despite being a major agricultural country, it is the world's largest importer of agricultural products. Moreover, apart from the Northeast Plain and a few other regions where mechanized production and planting can be achieved, most areas in China consist of mountains and hills, making full mechanization impossible. I believe that with previous experience, I can not only develop the ideal wheat variety ahead of schedule but also make further high-quality improvements, making it a premium high-end wheat variety better suited to China's conditions. 23. It's just that I didn't expect, on the first day of school, Fu Jing appeared lazily in front of me, dragging his suitcase. I was somewhat stunned. "Why are you here?" He pulled me into a side hug, lifting his eyelids lazily. Big brother can't bear to let his little sister wander alone in a foreign place. Grandma couldn't understand why Su Yinglong made the unprecedented choice to stay in this impoverished household. Huahua, Fu Jing pushed me outward. "Go help me fill out the forms quickly. There are so many people there. Crowds give me a headache." Taking advantage of my occupied hands, Fu Jing slipped a bank card into my bag. He smirked playfully. "The Fu family has money. It's not like we can't afford to support you. Why are you being so dramatic? We finally have a top student little sister. The whole family can't spoil you enough. How could we bear to see you living like an ascetic every day?" "Don't worry," Fu Jing ruffled my hair. "I've arranged for Grandma to be brought home. She'll be well taken care of." Genius. Never mind the trivialities. Just focus on changing the world with that brilliant mind of yours. As for everything else, with your big brother here, what is there to fear? Once a brother, always a brother. I'll always have your back, bro. You can count on me. 24. At the age of 25, working with academician Fan, our team successfully cultivated high-end premium wheat, high yield, excellent taste, easy to cultivate. Within just a few years, Huagua's premium wheat became a global bestseller. Through the substantial patent fees collected from seeds and the profits from agricultural exports, Hua country's agricultural sector has been developing increasingly well. As agriculture became profitable, more and more people began to engage in agricultural production. In the year I turned 29, at the venue of the Supreme Science and Technology Awards ceremony, our entire team was nominated, recognized for our tremendous contributions to agriculture in wheat cultivation. Grandma sat in the audience, quietly wiping away tears. She clapped excitedly and said with a smile, "Qiushi, I'm so proud of you." Fu Jing smiled at me and congratulated me. "Little sister, congratulations on making your dream come true." I walked towards them. Behind me was thunderous applause and the constant flashing of camera lights. I know that with the continuous strengthening of agriculture, China's future will be more solidly and powerfully secured. China will always strive for self-improvement. Story 2. After being hated by the whole internet due to the plagiarism incident, I publicly announced that I would stop writing. My boyfriend, who had been indignantly accusing me, was stunned. "What are you going to do? Didn't you say there were still a lot of debts to pay off?" His white moonlight, the victim of the plagiarism incident, was also flustered. Wei, you don't have to punish yourself like this. I'm willing to give you a chance to start over." I looked at the flashing magnesium lights below the stage, and my expression didn't waver in the slightest. In my last life, these two people humiliated me while colluding with each other to steal my creative achievements. In the end, the words I painstakingly wrote helped Chin Ruoro achieve the fame of a talented writer. This time around, I directly cancelled the author's pen name that I had used for 6 years. I've had enough of living in this cramped rental house. It's time to go home and inherit the family fortune. As for Chin Ruoro, I want to see how you're going to complete the remaining half of the work. 1. May I ask, Ms. Meng, you keep saying that you will produce evidence to prove that you didn't plagiarize. So, where is the evidence? As one of your former readers, I really don't want to believe that you would do such a thing. Were your previous works really written by you? Facing countless microphones thrust towards me, I was first taken aback, and then my heart began to beat violently. I was reborn on the day when I held a press conference to prove my innocence. In my previous life, my boyfriend's White Moonlight plagiarized my novel, which was based on my own secret love story. On the day of the book's evaluation, it soared to the top of the website's gold list, creating a best-selling myth in the youth campus literature genre. After being reposted by Big V marketing accounts, countless netizens exclaimed that it was tear-jerking. I originally wanted to show my creative drafts as evidence, but unexpectedly, on the day of the press conference, my files were emptied, leaving no trace at all. I experienced unprecedented online violence. Every day, I received wreaths, black and white photos, and terrifying express deliveries from all over the place. I gritted my teeth and continued writing, but in the end, I was stabbed to death by radical anti-fans who came to my door. At the moment, I just hesitated for a moment, and my so-called good boyfriend of 3 years, Xue Chen, couldn't help but launch a passionate attack. Meng Weiwei, if you say that Ruoro is slandering you, then produce the evidence. Don't make unfounded accusations and smear others. He glared at me angrily, but there was a flash of complacent in his eyes. Yes. How could he not know what was in my folder? What he wanted was for me to be disgraced and for Chin Ruoro to become the new generation of popular writer. I lowered my eyes, picked up my computer, and walked beside the projection platform. I turned it on and cast the screen. The next second, facing everyone's astonished gazes, I cancelled the author's pen name that I had used for 6 years. Xue Chen and Chin Ruoro stood up directly. I said in a cold voice, "Everyone, I am wrong today. The evidence has been destroyed by those with ulterior motives, and it's difficult for me to defend myself. From today onwards, this pen name is invalid. I will stop writing and never set foot in anything related to the online literature circle again." 2. After I finished speaking, I was about to leave with my computer. Xue Chen rushed in front of me like a shot to block me. "What are you going to do? Didn't you say there were still a lot of debts to pay off? You just decide not to write. Didn't you say every day that writing is your biggest dream?" Chin Ruoro was also flustered. She came over with tears in her eyes. "Weiwei, you don't have to punish yourself like this. I'm willing to give you a chance to start over." I sneered as I watched these two people perform. The next second, Chin Ruoro suddenly gritted her teeth and knelt down in front of me on the spot. "Weiwei, I beg you not to quit the circle just because of this little thing. Your readers will definitely not let me off. I can delete all the information and pretend that none of this ever happened. If you quit the circle, I'll be in big trouble. I won't write either." The sound of click-click from the shutters immediately aimed at her. My former golden editor couldn't help but come over and try to pull her up. "What are you saying, Ruoro? Why are you kneeling to a plagiarist?" She brought this upon herself. "You just signed a top writer contract with the company, don't forget. There is still work to be done in the future." I was too lazy to be attacked here, so I simply left the scene. To prevent being blocked by reporters, I deliberately took a small path and took a taxi back to the rental house from the back door. On the way back, messages on my Weibo kept popping up. I opened it and found that 4 out of the top 10 trending topics were about me. Hashtag Meng Weiwei plagiarized hashtag. Hashtag Meng Weiwei and Chin Ruoro hashtag. Hashtag Chin Ruoro was forced to kneel hashtag. Hashtag Chin Ruoro's ghostwriter hashtag. The unscrupulous marketing accounts denied all the works I had ever created. They claimed that I plagiarized Chin Ruoro's ideas and threatened Chin Ruoro to be my ghostwriter. There were nothing but curses under my Weibo posts. Damn, it's so disgusting. I actually followed a plagiarist. I watched the live press conference. Meng Weiwei didn't dare to say a word when she was criticized, and in the end, she even forced Chin Ruoro to kneel. At least you have the sense to know to stop writing and quit the circle, otherwise, I'll definitely make you pay. Even your own boyfriend stood up to accuse you. Meng Weiwei, what have you done? I think she's made enough money and is running away. I support Qin Ruoruo to sue to the end and let her face the lawsuit. The comments on my backstage were all foul language. In contrast, the number of followers on Qin Ruoruo's Weibo increased sharply. And there were a lot of warm and encouraging comments below. I left a comment, then I wish you can continue to update daily and complete the second half. Don't let your readers down. I knew that I didn't have much saved work left. Qin Ruoruo was too impatient. She was worried that I would publish the work before I finished stockpiling the drafts, so she simply took the initiative first. But she couldn't complete the foreshadowing and Easter eggs I left in the front. Exposing her was just a matter of time. 3. I returned to the rental house. The 90 square meter house was neither too big nor too small, and I had decorated it to be warm and comfortable. On the old wall were photos pasted together to form a heart shape, photos of me and Xue Chen. But every one of them was secretly taken by me and then developed by someone else. He never agreed to take photos with me. He also didn't want to post on moments, and on anniversaries. He would even give me the cold shoulder and disappear in advance. Over the years, I paid for the rent and utilities. I also basically paid for our meals, shopping, and outings. I immediately, under the pressure of paying the liquidated damages, proposed to the landlord that I would move out. I threw away the things I didn't need and packed up as quickly as possible. Just as I was busily working, there was a knock on the door. I opened the door and found that it was Xue Chen and Qin Ruoruo. Weiwei, are you moving? As soon as Qin Ruoruo entered the door, she hypocritically took my hand. I coldly pulled my hand back. Xue Chen looked at me coldly, and the disdain between his eyebrows was obvious. Moving? As far as I know, her father has long since passed away due to illness. The money she has worked so hard to earn by writing over the years has been used to pay off the medical expenses her father owed. She even feels pained about the monthly rent of 2,000 yuan for this house. If she moves, she can only move to a shabby single dormitory. I looked at him expressionlessly. What do you want? Xue Chen said with disgust. Apologize to Ruoruo and publicly admit that you plagiarized. 4. My eyebrows twitched. Is this something a decent person would say? I angrily questioned him. Xue Chen, don't you know the truth? You've been living off me all these years. Where do you get the nerve to say such things now? Xue Chen's expression didn't waver in the slightest. He said with a sense of righteousness, just because you're a jobless vagrant without parents, and Ruoruo has been a princess surrounded by everyone's attention since she was in school, I will help her get whatever she wants. You probably don't know yet, Ruoruo's parents are middle school teachers. She's thousands of times better than you in every way. My boyfriend, who had been in a relationship with me since college, was now attacking me with the most vicious words. He only knew that I came from a single-parent family and moved out because I had a disagreement with my mother, but he didn't know that my mother was the general manager of the Asia-Pacific region of a certain multinational group. After my father passed away, he left us an inheritance worth 9 figures. It can be said that if I hadn't chosen to stay here to avoid inheriting the family business back then, I would have been someone that Xue Chen could never reach in his entire life. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Xue Chen thought his attack had been effective. He sneered and continued, some people are born princesses, while others, no matter how hard they try, are just shady maids. If I were you, I would slink away now and leave all the things here to Ruoruo. What are you still standing there for? Immediately log on to Weibo and publicly apologize to Ruoruo, or don't blame me for being rude. However, the next second, I raised my hand and gave Xue Chen a solid slap in the face. I slapped him so hard that Xue Chen's face turned to the side, his eyes widened, and red blood vessels immediately filled his eyeballs. Meng Weiwei, how dare you hit someone? Qin Ruoruo let out a scream and immediately took 2 steps back to take out her phone to film. However, I slapped her phone away first and swung my suitcase to knock both of them aside. I vented my resentment wildly, smashing whatever was at hand. Anyway, I didn't plan to keep anything. If you like my things so much, then I'll give them all to you. The surroundings were in a mess, and all the visible items were smashed to pieces by me. I opened the door and strode out of this place where I had lived in a cramped space for 3 years. 5. I called my mother. We hadn't been in touch for several years. But when I dialed the number, she answered immediately. At that moment, my tears flowed uncontrollably. In my previous life, from the time I left in a fit of pique after graduating from university until I was killed, I didn't get to say a word to my mother. I couldn't imagine how sad she would be when she heard the news of my death. this time, I just wanted to be my mother's little spoiled one. It's good to be home. It's good to be home, my mother's voice kept trembling, and in the end, she could only repeat these 4 words. Soon, I boarded the plane back to Shanghai. Before boarding, I took a look at Weibo and found that Qin Ruoro had hypocritically posted another message. Sorry, everyone, I'm going to stop writing for a while. The things that have happened recently have made me feel a bit overwhelmed. Meng Weiwei is also a senior that I have always admired. I want to take a leave of absence for a while to adjust myself, and Li Fei, the editor who had once shown me great care, quickly reposted this Weibo post. Fans, please give Ruoro some time to come up with better works. Next month, we will hold a fan meeting event in Shanghai. Everyone is welcome to attend. It was clearly trying to build Qin Ruoro into a popular author. I sighed, turned off my phone, and fell into a deep sleep. When I got off the plane, my mother had already come to pick me up with a driver and bodyguards in a Rolls-Royce. She said that she had heard about my situation and was going to ask her friends to handle the public relations and contact a lawyer to sue at the same time. We will pursue this matter to the end. We will never let my precious daughter suffer any grievances. I lay in my mother's arms. Her hand kept stroking my back, and her chin gently rested on my forehead. There were all kinds of exquisite dishes in the car, as well as my favorite drinks from before. My mother was afraid that I would be hungry, so she started preparing as soon as she received my call. I hugged my mother tightly. Don't worry, Mom, there's no need to go to so much trouble. I smiled and said, soon, the real plagiarist will reap what she sows. 6. It felt so great to move back into our big villa. I didn't have to get up early to buy groceries and prepare 3 meals a day, and I didn't have to wash my clothes myself. The balance in my card with countless zeros was more than I could spend, and I no longer had to worry about the rent and expenses every month. My mother specially tidied up a study for me. There were several walls full of books and a computer with the highest configuration, which supported me to do anything I wanted. Every morning, I could bask in the sun in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, do yoga, and have beauty treatments. At noon, I could enjoy a full banquet. In the afternoon, I could go shopping, have afternoon tea, and learn equestrianism, yoga, and golf. In the evening, I could have a glass of red wine, take a bath in the spacious bathtub, and fall asleep accompanied by the tuner specially hired by my mother. My physical fitness and mental state have been greatly improved, several levels higher than before. However, at the same time, with Qin Ruoro's long-term discontinuation of updates, dissatisfied voices gradually emerged online. Some people began to question, can Qin Ruoro really write? Could it be that what Meng Weiwei said was true? There's no reason to stop updating for so long when she's so popular. She has no professional ethics at all. Is she playing tricks on everyone? Refund the money quickly. Qin Ruoro was also anxious. She logged on to Weibo more and more frequently. I knew this person very well. She had a delicate appearance since she was a child and was used to relying on men. She didn't have any real talent or learning at all. Asking her to write a few words was harder than killing her. What's more, my book was completely based on my own real-life situation, telling the story of my unrequited love for a senior back then. Even if Shuechen knew me well, he could only tell Qin Ruoro about some individual events. So, Qin Ruoro couldn't withstand the pressure and reluctantly wrote a chapter under Shuechen's guidance, but the plummeting data and the flood of negative comments soon made her delete it. So, she played the victim on Weibo again, claiming that she was ill and having an operation, and she really couldn't do anything about it. But she also promised that she would definitely hand over a work that satisfied everyone at the offline meeting. One day, I was shopping at Hermes, thinking about which bag to match with my new clothes, when editor Li Fei suddenly sent me a message saying that she wanted to meet me. Weiwei, I see that your IP address is in Shanghai. Coincidentally, I'm also on a business trip here. Let's have a good chat. There are some things that I may have misunderstood you about. My heart started to beat faster. 7. I originally thought that I would be vindicated, but unexpectedly, when Li Fei came to me this time, she actually tried to persuade me to continue helping Qin Ruoro complete the work. In the coffee shop, Li Fei sized up the new Chanel outfit I was wearing and let out a slightly disdainful chuckle. Name your price, Weiwei. I know your family is in a difficult situation. How much do you want to continue writing? Now Qin Ruoro is the golden sign of our website. She has created huge profits for us, and the website will definitely protect her. In the few minutes of silence, it felt as if a century had passed. Now that your pen name has been cancelled, your former readers are gone. Besides, It was the website that made efforts to promote you to achieve results back then. Li Fei pushed the coffee cup aside and leaned forward. 500,000, that's enough for you to get a real set of clothes like the ones you're wearing now. And it can also help you continue to do what you want. Looking at her meaningful eyes, my face darkened completely. What kind of person did Li Fei take me for? And what did she think I was doing in Shanghai now? Fine. I squeezed out these 2 words through gritted teeth. No problem, I've already prepared the outline, it only takes 3 days, and I'll complete the remaining 100,000 words for you. Li Fei stood up excitedly. Great, then it's a deal, I'll wait for you here in 3 days. I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. After I got back, I turned on the computer and started writing according to the outline I had drafted in my notebook, perhaps due to the rest I had in the previous period. My inspiration and energy were extremely abundant. 3 days later, with 2 dark circles under my eyes, I handed the manuscript to her. Li Fei was overjoyed, but she was still cautious and reviewed the manuscript in front of me first. Only after confirming that there was no problem did she let out a sigh of relief, transferred 500,000 to me on the spot, and signed a confidentiality contract with me. But Li Fei didn't know, when these manuscripts are uploaded to the website, they won't be in the current layout format. At that time, in several lines in the middle, the first characters will form a sentence together. Qin Ruoruo is the real plagiarist. 8. After getting the manuscript, Qin Ruoruo seemed to rejuvenate overnight and could even directly retort to the anti-fans. She showed the word count of the document and angrily rebuked. I will never hastily create shoddy works for the sake of traffic. I want a high-quality product that I can be proud of. This domineering declaration won her even more favor, and the comments on the platform were all in support of her. I flipped through her comment section, and a person named Protect Ruoruo for Life was particularly eye-catching. This user's Weibo was all about Qin Ruoruo. It recorded countless round-trip tickets over 3 years and countless preferences of the girl secretly spied on and recorded. From his historical avatars, I found out that he was Xue Chen. Only then did I realize that when he confessed to me after graduating from university, he was just trying to make Qin Ruoruo jealous. Soon, Qin Ruoruo's reader meeting arrived. She announced in advance that she would upload all the remaining content of the book on the spot, allowing readers to enjoy it all at once. This was really attractive, so on the day of the meeting, the entire hall was packed. Unaware passers-by might have thought some popular celebrity had arrived. Readers held self-made peripheral signs, and their shouts were almost deafening. Ah, my Ruoruo is really so beautiful in person. The goddess is not only talented but also so beautiful. How can others live? I like reading your book so much. Can you sign for me? I'm going crazy with excitement.